Chapter 85. She won't commit suicide, right? Wei Fong was worried. I'll go take a look. Zhou Xian was about to get up, but Jiang Tian stopped her. It's fine. Let her calm down. What the hell is this? Zhao Huqing sighed as he sat on the sofa and smoked. Chu Yue consoled him with a gentle voice. Wei Fong's anger calmed down, but she still felt uneasy. Jiang Tian, you are too violent today. You actually hit someone. They will definitely not let us off. We're businessmen. How can we offend government officials? Although she was reprimanding him, her tone was much gentler. Even if Jiang Tian was crazy, he was protecting her daughter. It's fine. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, what does the Lu clan count for? A single word from me and they're finished. Uncle Auntie, don't worry. I'm no longer the Jiang Tian from back then. Since Xueqing is my lover, I'll protect you for life. No one will dare to offend you. Jiang Tian, stop bragging. Zhao Huqing laughed bitterly. He really didn't know how to deal with the upcoming revenge. You're already so old. Don't you know that a little impatience spoils great plans? Even if Lu Chongfeng is a scumbag, we could have just disagreed with this marriage. But you just had to fight. Aren't you trying to kill me? That's right. You've really killed Uncle and Auntie this time, Chu Yue said disdainfully. Jiang Tian could only shake his head and smile bitterly. His change was too shocking. It was no wonder that Zhao Huqing and his wife couldn't accept it. Didn't you say that Zheng Guangxia gave you the king's #1 villa? Seeing that Jiang Tian was so taciturn, Zhao Huqing was even angrier. He looked at Jiang Tian with disdain as if he was looking at a liar. Yes. Jiang Tian nodded. King #1 villa costs 30 million to build. In recent years, property prices have skyrocketed. I'm afraid it's worth 50 million or even 100 million. At this moment, even Chu Yue could not bear to watch any longer. With a face full of disdain, she said, moreover, there's no one living in his villa. Zheng Guangxia specially gave it to some business partners and government officials to use for vacation. How did it fall into your hands? Jiang Tian didn't say a word, feeling helpless in his heart. Qinger already said that I helped them kill a ghost king, but you didn't believe me. Forget it, I won't say anymore. Seeing Jiang Tian acting like a taciturn gourd, Zhao Huqing became angrier and angrier. He wanted to make Jiang Tian recognize his position, so he said indifferently, let's go, Jiang Tian. It's not far anyway, let's go take a look. That's right, I'm really looking forward to it. That's a king #1. Chu Yue's smile seemed sweet, but it harbored malicious intentions. Forget it, forget it. Jiang Tian only made a move today because of Chanru. Don't embarrass him. Wei Fong more or less had a good impression of Jiang Tian today and hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Chu Yue sneered, thinking that Jiang Tian was definitely going to go along with it. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian said indifferently, all right. When these words came out, other than Zhao Xueqing, everyone was stunned in the shopping mall, looking at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at an idiot. Zhao Huqing wished that he could slap himself. What am I competing with this kind of lunatic for? Wouldn't I have made a wasted trip? Wei Fong was a little worried. She thought to herself, looks like Jiang Tian's condition has worsened again. He's still so crazy at the last minute. Let's go, let's go. Let's go take a look. Chu Yue's eyes lit up. She originally looked down on Jiang Tian, but now she was happy to see it happen. As she spoke, she pulled Wei Fong and Zhao Xueqing's hands and walked out of the door. Zhao Huqing could only sigh and follow. When he passed by Jiang Tian, he shook his head in disappointment. The Lakeview Villa was not far from the king's villa. Jiang Tian strolled along the tree-lined path and passed through the Lakeview Park. Soon he arrived at the entrance of the king's villa #1 at the top of Lion Peak. At this moment, Zhao Huqing, Wei Fong and Chu Yue were already standing on the lawn outside the villa, overlooking the beautiful scenery of Xiu Lake and Lakeview Park. This villa is located at the top of Lion Peak. The location is excellent. The entire Linzhou city can be seen at a glance. Zhao Huqing did not even look at Jiang Tian. He did not have any hope at all as he stood there inside. Yes, this villa is very popular. Even if you have money, you might not be able to buy it. To be able to live here, not only does one have to be wealthy, it also represents a kind of status and glory. Wei Fong shook her head and sighed. This villa was comparable to the assets of the Zhao family pharmaceutical company that she had worked hard to manage for more than 10 years. The Zhao family could not afford it. Xianxia is indeed worthy of being the richest man in Linzhou City. The moment this high-end villa was released, the prices of the surrounding residential areas of the Guangxiao group increased. Now the third phase of the Lion Peak district is selling for 5,000 per square meter. Chu Yue sighed and said, this year, Zheng Guangxia took another 3 plots of land. The total price is more than 1 billion and the land price is more than 4,000. I'm afraid that the property market will rise crazily in the future. Zai Chiyue is just a girl. Her vision and knowledge are much better than Jiang Tian. Hey, I'm really crazy. Jiang Tian is just an idiot. How can he be compared to Chu Yue? Zhao Huqing nodded. He did not feel good in his heart as he looked at Jiang Tian with disappointment. Seeing Jiang Tian coming over, Chu Yue sneered and said, Mr. Rich Boss is here. Quickly open the door and let us take a look. Jiang Tian's face was calm and composed. He took out the key and walked towards the door. He's completely crazy. Even at this time he's still infatuated. I think he should give up on treatment. When Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong saw this scene, they were no longer in the mood to chat and shook their heads in disappointment. Which key is the right one? Jiang Tian inserted the key into the keyhole and twisted it a few times, but it did not open. He wanted to use another key to try again. Seeing this, Chu Yue felt some sympathy for the crazy Jiang Tian. She felt that she was too cruel. How could she bully a lunatic like this? She hurriedly waved her hand and said, forget it, Jiang Tian. We were just joking. Let's go back. When Jiang Tian was hesitating, the door was suddenly pulled open from the inside. An old man wearing a tang suit said with a face full of ecstasy and fawning, Mr. Jiang, you're finally here. Oh, it's Butler Shen. Jiang Tian nodded. Butler Shen said with a flattering smile, Elder Zheng told me to insist on the daily cleaning and maintenance. He said that as long as you come I must give him a call. You're finally here. He took out his phone and dialed Zheng Guangxia's number. Seeing this, except for Zhao Xueqing, everyone was petrified on the spot. They were dumbfounded and could not believe it. Chu Yue's mouth was round and could not close for a long time. She could stuff a big loaf of bread into it. Jiang Tian had become Mr. Jiang in Zheng Guangxia's eyes. He had given him a villa worth tens of millions. Wei Fong keenly understood the message in the butler's words and asked, Elder Zheng? Is it Zheng Guangxia, Director Zheng? The butler smiled and said, yes, other than Zheng Guangxia, how many people in Linzhou can be called Elder Zheng? Jiang Tian's expression did not change. He was calm and indifferent. He pulled Zhao Xueqing's small hand and said, let's go in and take a look. I've gotten the key for so long and haven't had the time to come yet. Uncle and Auntie, let's go together. Jiang Tian led the group of people to tour the villa. It was luxurious and grand. Chu Yue was shocked silly. She only felt that the words she had ridiculed Jiang Tian earlier had all slapped her face, causing her face to swell. Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong looked at each other and saw the shock and confusion in each other's eyes. Jiang Tian actually knew a big shot like Zheng Guangxia? Why did Elder Zheng give Jiang Tian such a valuable villa? Zhao Huqing could not help but ask. I don't dare to talk nonsense about this. The butler bowed humbly and said with a smile. Zhao Xueqing could not help but say, I already said that Jiang Tian had helped them catch ghosts before. You still don't believe me? When they went down the mountain, Zhao Huqing pulled Wei Fong and muttered, could it be that Jiang Tian has really recovered? Even if he did, he wouldn't suddenly have such great ability. Wei Fong could not understand no matter how she thought about it. She said in confusion, oh right, he seems to have a university classmate called Jing Li. She's Zheng Guangxia's niece. In short, it seems that Jiang Tian is not simple. He actually lives in 100 million villa. I didn't misjudge him. Zhao Huqing's face was filled with gratification. Not to mention anything else, just this 100 million was enough for Jiang Tian to be proud of. Returning to the lakeside villa, Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong could not help but worry when Zhao Qianru had not returned yet. Don't worry, I'll go talk to her. Jiang Tian smiled and left the villa. The sun was setting. Zhao Qianru, who was dressed in a white dress, sat on a bench in the lakeside park. Her eyes were slightly red as she stared blankly at the endless Xiu Lake. Her beautiful face was filled with tears as she stared blankly. Qianru. A call came. Zhao Qianru turned her head and hurriedly wiped her tears. Brother-in-law, you're here. Jiang Tian sat down on the bench and started smoking a cigarette. His face was shrouded in the dense smoke, and there was a hint of vicissitudes of life. After a while, Zhang Tian said indifferently, I ruined your engagement party. You won't blame brother-in-law, right? No, brother-in-law, why would I blame you? Zhao Qianru hurriedly waved her hand. She lowered her eyes and said softly, I still have to thank brother-in-law. If brother-in-law hadn't exposed that scumbag's true colors, my life would have been ruined in his hands. Qianru, you've grown up, Zhang Tian sighed in relief. He was worried that this girl would not understand. It's just that the disappointment and hatred in my heart is unavoidable. Zhao Qianru suddenly burst into tears and said with a trembling voice, he was so good to me and looked so devoted. But I didn't expect that all of this was a disguise. He was just plotting against our Zhao family's money. Don't be sad. There are still many good men in the world. You'll meet someone who loves you and dotes on you in the future. Zhang Tian smiled gently. Zhao Qianru looked at the lake in a daze and said, that's right. If only I could meet a good man like brother-in-law. What's so good about me? Zhang Tian looked embarrassed. Brother-in-law clearly didn't have much money, but you still made a jade bracelet for my sister. You even sold your blood to give my sister money to spend. Even if my sister misunderstood you and divorced you, you still left everything to my sister. Zhao Qianru's face was filled with envy. So many important people treat you as an important guest, but you go home every day to accompany my sister, cook for her, wash her clothes and work overtime with her. You're simply a wife-doting demon. How would you know what your sister sacrificed for me in my previous life? Zhang Tian sighed in his heart. He could only shake his head and smile bitterly. It's what I should do. Your sister is also very good to me. Before I have a boyfriend, brother-in-law, give me some of your love for my sister. Zhao Qianru tilted her head and leaned on Zhang Tian's shoulder, begging pitifully. Chapter 86. Well, I already said that I'll keep you safe for the rest of your life. Zhang Tian's heart was filled with love and sympathy when he thought of how badly she was bullied by that scumbag Lu Chongfeng in her previous life. He rubbed the little girl's soft hair and smiled gently. You have to keep your word. I know that brother-in-law is the best. The little girl's tears turned into laughter. She hugged Zhang Tian's waist and buried her head in his neck as she spoke coquettishly. It felt great to be by brother-in-law's side. His body seemed to be exuding a fresh and pleasant aura that made her feel a little intoxicated. When Zhao Qianru calmed down, Zhang Tian handed a few invitations to the apprenticeship ceremony to Zhao Qianru. Bring mom and dad there in 2 days. It's good for the family business to make some friends. Zhao Qianru beamed and said, brother-in-law, you really can have as many as you want. Brother-in-law is really amazing. Because I'm Tang Linglong's master. Zhang Tian smiled proudly. Brother-in-law, don't joke around. The little girl shook her head with an expression of disbelief. I know that Miss Tang knows you, but I'm afraid you're still not enough to be her master. She has inherited Elder Tang's teachings. She didn't take it seriously and smiled. Yue has been clamoring to attend this ceremony. I'll bring her along. She'll be overjoyed. In the past few days, the upper-class society of Jiangbei was in an uproar. Everyone was looking forward to the Tang family's apprenticeship ceremony. On the day of the apprenticeship ceremony, countless tycoons and big shots from Jiangzhou and Haizhou flocked over. Many people even came from Foshan and other places. In the vast parking lot outside the Crouching Dragon Villa, imported Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, Bentleys and Cadillacs were all parked there. There were even a few limited production Rolls-Royces known as the Grand Blenheim Palace, and they were of the highest grade in the Silver Spirit series. There were so many luxurious cars that it was possible to open a small car exhibition. The total price would definitely exceed 200 million. Oh my God, what day is it today? Why are there so many luxurious cars? A passerby exclaimed and took out his phone to take pictures. Why are there celebrities? Isn't that Sister Bing Bing? And the Kung Fu star Li Long? Another onlooker exclaimed loudly. Chu Yue, who was passing by them, sneered in her heart. How would a country bumpkin like you know of Master Kang's existence? Today is the Tang family's apprenticeship ceremony. But in fact she was also very shocked. There were too many rich and powerful officials here today, and their identities were all frightening. Qianru, this Master Kong is too powerful. The Tang family actually made such a big fuss for him. Chu Yue clicked her tongue in wonder. Zhao Qianru was also in disbelief. She had just seen Xianxia enter. She was afraid that Master Kong would be able to suppress Xianxia. "Qianru, why are the two of you dawdling?" Wei Fong, who was standing at the door, saw the two of them and stomped her feet. "Do you know how rare this opportunity is?" She and Zhou Huqing had come together. They had changed into the most expensive clothes and jewelry, but compared to the rich people around them they still paled in comparison. Zhao Qianru hurriedly pulled Chu Yue over. Zhao Huqing said gently, "Qianru, since Lu Chongfeng gave you an invitation, let's go with the flow. Don't worsen the conflict. Their family is not to be offended." "Dad, what are you talking about? Brother-in-law gave this to me." Zhao Qianru was furious. "How could your brother-in-law get such an important invitation?" Zhao Huqing berated, "I know you have your opinion of Lu Chongfeng, but I didn't force you to marry him. Whoever gave it to him is the one who gave it to him. That villa doesn't belong to Jiang Tian at all." Wei Fong also said from the side. "Why isn't it? Didn't he open the door?" Chu Yue asked with a puzzled expression. "Sai, we all went to take a look last night. It was empty and pitch black. There was no one living there at all." Wei Fong sighed. They had carefully thought it over these 2 days. It was definitely impossible for Jiang Tian to obtain Zheng Guangxia's appreciation. He must have borrowed the key from his classmate, Zheng Li, and acted out a double act with the butler in order to obtain everyone's attention. In the end, when they went over to take a look at night, they saw such a scene which confirmed their guess. "Oh, so that's how it is." Chu Yue curled her lips and snorted coldly. "I knew it, he couldn't be so powerful. Brother-in-law really gave it to me." Zhao Qianru felt extremely wronged and didn't know how to explain. "All right, let's go in." Wei Fong was excited and couldn't be bothered to ask in detail. He pulled Zhao Qianru and walked in. Even though Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong were worth tens of millions, they didn't show it here. When they met those rich people, they even had to curry favor with them. As Zhao Qianru and Chu Yue strolled around, all they saw were rich and high-ranking officials with extraordinary bearings. They always heard such a voice, "Boss, who you're here. I heard that you got a piece of land in Haizhou that's worth a few hundred million. Old Zhang, how can I compare to you? Your company is listed on the new board and you earned a few hundred million in one go." So what if it's listed? The Securities Regulatory Commission is watching and the shareholders are scolding. How can it be as comfortable as you being the local tyrant? When Chu Yue heard these conversations, she immediately felt short of breath. She frowned and said, "I feel that these people are so powerful. I can't even interrupt. This grand event is a gathering of the upper class. They are all the leaders of large families and enterprises." Zhao Qianru was very clear-headed and said indifferently, "Wait 10 or 20 years. When we grow up, we'll probably be able to talk and laugh like this. And let's not care about that anymore. Let's go eat." Yue pulled Zhao Qianru to eat Western pastries. This banquet was a combination of Chinese and Western. The lawn of the manor was set up with cold meals, champagne and fruit plates. It was mainly for the young people. In the few halls there were a few banquets set up. Those who could enter were the big shots. While eating Western pastries, Yue took a lot of photos and sent them to the space to show off. Suddenly she exclaimed and pointed into the distance, "Io, isn't that Lu Tianle? Why is he with Lu Chongfeng?" "Well, Lu Tianle is his cousin." Zhao Qianru was not interested. Lu Chongfeng's background is really big. Chu Yue was envious and whispered, "Actually, you can still forgive him once." "No way." Zhao Qianru did not even look at her. In her heart, her brother-in-law was the most perfect man. No matter how capable he was, he had always been loyal to her sister and cared for her. "Oh my God, there's more." Chu Yue was extremely excited. "Tang Jianfeng is also here. He's the son of the Tang family's third master and Lu Wangfeng's cousin, Du Yuan. I heard that his father and Jinling's big shot Du Kaiga are brothers-in-law." Tang Jianfeng was arrogant, ruthless and insufferably arrogant. He was once the most terrifying young master in Linzhou. Du Yuan was also a first-rate young master, but he was not a good person either. Zhao Qianru felt even more disgusted when she saw that Lu Chongfeng was with them and had a servile look on his face. Sigh, but only a socialite like Fu Lanjun can accompany Tang Jianfeng. Chu Yue shook her head and sighed. She looked at Fu Lanjun, who was wearing a red evening gown and looked like a high and mighty empress, envious. Early in the morning, Jiang Tian received a call from Tang Wanyan, who wanted to send a car to pick him up. Jiang Tian politely declined, saying that he could drive there himself. He continued to study the feng shui of King's No. 1 villa and how to set up the spirit gathering array. In the Tang family's eyes, this was a joyous occasion, but in Jiang Tian's eyes, it was not worth mentioning. Back then he was invincible in the universe and established his own sect. He had 3,000 disciples, 72 sages, and many of them were demon emperors, demon lords and immortal emperors. Now he had just taken an immortal as his disciple. What was the big deal? Therefore it was not until 11 o'clock in the morning that Jiang Tian and Zhou Xian came to Crouching Dragon Villa lazily, hand in hand. Although the Tang family had told Jiang Tian in advance that they were going to make it big, Jiang Tian was still a little surprised to see such a grand occasion. At the entrance of the villa, a red carpet stretched for 3 miles. There were baskets of flowers on both sides of the red carpet. There were armed police officers guarding the area, and even the armed police were deployed. The entire Crouching Dragon Villa was strictly guarded, and no mistakes were allowed. Luxury cars were everywhere and guests were everywhere. The villa was decorated with lanterns and colored banners as if it was the new year. Seeing this, Jiang Tian shook his head and chuckled. The Tang family was afraid that people would not know about their relationship. This was equivalent to announcing it to the world. He held Zhou Xian's hand, showed the invitation and slowly walked into the villa. Congratulations, Jianfeng. This time Lan Jun has received Elder Tang's approval. You can finally be together openly. Lu Tianle said with a smile, surrounded by a group of young masters. I was almost scared to death when I saw Elder Tang and Secretary Tang just now. Fu Lanjun was dressed to the nines and wore a diamond necklace, which made her look even more radiant. She held Tang Jianfeng's arm and smiled sweetly. She knew that with her background and status, she was not worthy of Tang Jianfeng. Thanks to her smooth and slick social skills, she had left a good impression on many people. Otherwise, the Tang family would not have agreed to her relationship with Tang Jianfeng. However, she knew that she was still in the observation stage. Before she could get engaged and married, she still had to go through many tests from the Tang family. Sigh, why haven't I seen Lu Biao and Zhou Xian recently? Du Tao said with a mischievous smile. Zhou Xian offended Master Kong and has been expelled from Linzhou City. I don't know where she is now. Tang Jianfeng's face turned cold. He said with disdain, Lu Biao also disrespected Master Kong. She has no right to participate. What? Are they crazy? How dare they offend Master Kong? Isn't Miss Tang going to be Master Kang's disciple this time? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. Grandmaster Jiang could be said to be the most powerful expert in Linzhou and even the entire Jiangbei region. They had heard that he could control lightning and condense qi into weapons. He could hurt people from 100 meters away. He was as powerful as a demon. These two girls dared to disrespect the Tang family's guest. Were they not courting death? Jianfeng Long Gaiyan seems to be very arrogant recently. He even mocked me last time, Lu Tianle reported. His father Long Wu is your father's follower. You have to teach him a lesson. He is nothing. Tang Jianfeng said with disdain. He wants to be Master Kang's disciple again and again, but Master Kong doesn't like him at all. He raised his chin and said proudly, my dad said that I'm already at the Iron Body realm. This time he wants to bring me to see Grandmaster Jiang. Maybe Grandmaster Jiang will see that my aptitude is not bad and will accept me as his disciple. God, young Master Tang, you are also going to be Master Kang's disciple. When the time comes you will be so awesome. Fu Xinghui and the others immediately flattered him. Even Lu Tianle showed some envy. Everyone was flattering him. As for Lu Chongfeng, he didn't even have the right to interrupt. Fuck, why is he here? Suddenly Lu Chongfeng's eyes lit up. He saw Jiang Tian walking in lazily with Zhou Xian's little hand. Chapter 87. He immediately pulled Lu Tianle and said with a face full of resentment, Cousin, this is the guy who hit my mother yesterday. Him? Lu Tianle's eyes narrowed slightly as a cold light flashed through them. At the same time Tang Jianfeng, Fu Lanjun, and the others also noticed Jiang Tian's presence. I'll go and meet him. He's a lunatic. How can he be qualified to attend the Tang family's banquet? He must have snuck in. Lu Chongfeng coldly snorted and quickly rushed over. Jiang Tian, why are you here? A wisp of ridicule appeared on the corners of Chu Yue's mouth when she saw Jiang Tian appear, and she quickly walked over to greet him. "Why can't I be here?" Jiang Tian smiled. You must have snuck in, right? Hurry up and leave. Otherwise you'll be embarrassed if you're discovered." Chu Yue put on a cute smile, but her eyes were full of disdain. "Hee hee, you don't have to worry about me." Jiang Tian was too lazy to argue with this girl. He pulled a chair and sat down. He picked up a plate of fruits and smiled. "Chinga, do you want to eat lychees? I'll peel them for you." Zhao Xueqing smiled sweetly. "How can you just peel them? You have to feed me." "Hehe. I'll feed my big baby. Open your mouth." Jiang Tian fed Zhao Xueqing a lychee. She smiled happily and said, "It's very sweet." "Jiang Tian, get out." Suddenly Lu Chongfeng walked in with an arrogant look on his face. Then he said sternly, "How can trash like you come to this kind of place? How dare a lunatic like you sneak into the Tang family's banquet?" Flap. Jiang Tian didn't say anything. He raised his hand and slapped Lu Chongfeng, sending him flying 3 meters away. Jiang Tian's actions were fierce and overbearing. Coupled with Lu Chongfeng's screams, they attracted a lot of attention. "Chongfeng, are you okay?" Several attendants went to support him. "This is the Tang family's apprenticeship ceremony. Jiang Tian, how can you hit people? We're all finished." Seeing this scene, Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong were scared out of their wits. They ran over, one supporting Lu Chongfeng, while the other angrily reprimanded Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian's expression didn't change at all. He was still as calm as ever, as if he wasn't hitting someone. It was as simple as slapping an ant to death. "You dog-like thing, bark again and I'll kill you." Jiang Tian didn't even raise his eyelids as he spoke in a calm and composed manner. On the other hand, Chu Yue had a face full of schadenfreude as she shook her head and said in her heart, "Do you think this is the Zhao clan? You can behave atrociously as you please. Not to mention anything else, just Lu Tianla alone won't let you off. What are you doing?" Sure enough, Lu Tianla, Fu Lanjun, Du Tao, Tang Jianfeng, and the others quickly walked over with an arrogant attitude. "Jiang Tian, what's wrong with you? You dare to behave atrociously in the Tang family's apprenticeship ceremony." Lu Tianla was so angry that his face turned ashen as he snapped. Who didn't know that Lu Chongfeng was his cousin? Wasn't Jiang Tian slapping him in the face? "What's so great about the Tang family's apprenticeship ceremony? I said to stop this ceremony, so it has to be stopped." Jiang Tian was calm and composed as he lazily disdained them. Then he unhurriedly peeled a longan for Zhao Xueqing and stuffed it into her little mouth. "What? Is this kid crazy? How dare he speak such arrogant words to the Tang family? He should be hacked into pieces if he dares to say such words. Where did this stinking brat come from? He's extremely arrogant and doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Break his legs and throw him out. So many young masters are here to suppress him, yet he still has the mood to eat fruits." The tycoons in the courtyard didn't recognize Jiang Tian's face. They either mocked him or scolded him coldly. They were all worth hundreds of millions, but in front of the Tang family, they were still trembling with fear as if they were treading on thin ice. How dare this penniless guy talk so arrogantly? Suddenly someone recognized Jiang Tian. He slapped his thigh and laughed maniacally. "Isn't this the crazy son-in-law of Zhao Huqing? No wonder he's so crazy. It really is him. Zhao Huqing is also here. Bringing his crazy son-in-law here is embarrassing him. Aren't they afraid that the Tang family will kick them out? Look, isn't this a big problem? How dare he make a move in the Crouching Dragon Villa? He will definitely be tortured to death." Immediately the sound of mockery was endless. In their eyes, not only Jiang Tian but also Zhao Huqing and his wife had become the biggest joke. "Xueqing, hurry up and take Jiang Tian away." Seeing this, Zhao Huqing and his wife's faces turned red. They were so embarrassed that they wanted to find a hole to hide in. "Why should we leave? Lu Chongfeng is disrespectful, so he deserves to be beaten," Zhao Xueqing said angrily. "Zhao Xueqing, how dare you bring your crazy husband here to cause trouble? Are you crazy?" Fu Lanjun looked at Zhao Xueqing with disdain and scolded sternly. "Why don't you take a look at where you are? You really don't know what's good for you." Her relationship with Tang Jianfeng had just been approved by the Tang family, which meant that she would be Tang Linglong's sister-in-law in the future. Now that her status was different, she was instantly filled with arrogance. She did not even fear Tang Linglong. In her eyes, Jiang Tian was no match for Tang Jianfeng. In the Tang family's home ground, she could do whatever she wanted with him. Fu Longjun, if you dare to disrespect my wife again, I will kick you out of the Tang family's gate and never let you in again. Jiang Tian's face was calm. He slowly ate the strawberry, but his mouth was merciless. Zhao Huqing almost fainted. He even dared to scold the future grandson-in-law of the Tang family. Was he trying to get him killed? Jiang Tian had always been crazy, so he didn't dare to provoke him. He could only bitterly persuade, Jiang Tian, don't talk so much. Harmony is the most important thing. Take a step back and you'll have a better view. What's so great about her? If I ask her to scram, she has to scram. She's blind and two-faced. She doesn't deserve to be the daughter-in-law of the Tang family. Jiang Tian's eyes were indifferent and his words were as sharp as knives. Fu Longjun hated it when people mentioned this. He immediately felt wronged. She pulled Tang Jianfeng's arm and said, Jianfeng, look at him. How can he speak like that? You're courting death. You're just a live-in son-in-law and a lunatic. How dare you come to our Tang family? Tang Jianfeng stepped forward and coldly looked at Jiang Tian. He angrily rebuked, what bullshit, Zhao family? A bunch of ants dares to boast shamelessly. Who are you to say who will be the daughter-in-law of the Tang family? Brother-in-law, don't lower yourself to his level. He's the son of the Tang family's third master and has joined the army. I'm afraid that he will be in charge of the Tang family in the future. Zhao Qianru's words were to remind Jiang Tian that this brat was not to be offended. It was better to be patient for the time being. Oh, so it's you, Tang Jianfeng. Hearing this, Jiang Tian was still calm and composed. He shook his head in disappointment and ridiculed. Your father begged me time and time again. He even knelt down and kowtowed for me to take you as my disciple. I originally wanted to test you, but it seems that you don't have the qualifications. Lunatic. This brat is crazy. The Tang family's third master knelt down and kowtowed to him? This brat's boasting can break the sky. This idiot is really tired of living. If he humiliates the Tang family like this, I'm afraid he will be cut into pieces by the Tang family's believers, right? Hearing this, everyone present was dumbstruck. They did not dare to believe it and looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at an idiot. Then they ridiculed him crazily. Qianru, do you think your brother-in-law? Is there any hope of curing him? Chu Yue was dumbstruck by Jiang Tian. The world of a madman was truly unreasonable. Tang Jianfeng flew into a rage, pointed at Jiang Tian's nose and scolded, Brat, you must be courting death. I heard that even Long Wu Jingguangxia gave you some face, but so what? I must chop you up today. Forget it, his mental state isn't too good. Why lower yourself to his level? Lu Tianle pretended to be a good person and scolded, Jiang Tian, why aren't you apologizing to young Master Tang? Who does he think he is to make me apologize? Jiang Tian laughed lazily and disdainfully. What if I'm included? Du Tao stepped forward and instantly attracted everyone's attention. Young Master Du is here too. Humph, with young Master Du he will be scared to death. Everyone exclaimed. The Du family was one of the top 5 families in Linzhou City. His grandfather was once the secretary of Linzhou City's political and legal committee. His family owned a company with assets of over 2 billion and was backed by a powerful family in Jin City. Du Tao, is it? You're nothing, scram to the side. Jiang Tian did not bother to look at him. He smacked his lips and laughed. Chinga, this dragon fruit is not bad, it's a red heart. Hehe, you are indeed a madman. Du Tao laughed and looked at Jiang Tian as if he was looking at an idiot. Jiang Tian, you are really shameless. What if I'm included? Lu Tianle stepped forward and sneered. Not enough. Everyone was shocked to the point of numbness. They thought that he must be crazy. Tang Jianfeng, Du Tao and Lu Tianle were all first-rate young masters in Linzhou City, who would not be afraid when they joined forces. But this ant-like madman actually wanted to fight to the death. What did he have? Why are you talking nonsense with him? I will break his legs and let him know what the Tang family means. Tang Jianfeng's eyes were spitting fire. He stepped forward and was about to attack. Fine, since you are so stubborn, I will break one of your legs as punishment. Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and was about to break Tang Jianfeng's leg. Suddenly, Lu Tianle pulled Tang Jianfeng to the side and said in a low voice, forget it. After all, it is the Tang family's big day. It is not good to make a scene. We will teach him a lesson later. Yes. You are right, Tianla. Tang Jianfeng nodded and glared at Jiang Tian. He smiled maliciously. Good kid, just you wait. After you walk out of this door today, don't even think about living a happy life. At this moment, Zhengli ran out and pulled Jiang Tian aside. She whispered, Master Kong, the auspicious time has arrived. It is time for the apprenticeship ceremony. Elder Tang wants to see you. I will go. Jiang Tian did not bother to look at the crowd. He pulled Zhou Xian and left. After Jiang Tian left, Fu Lanjun was so angry that her face turned green. She snorted coldly and said, Zhou Xian and Jiang Tian have repeatedly humiliated me. I am so angry. Yes, they are too arrogant. They are too arrogant. Lu Tianla said angrily. This was the Tang family's territory. Even he, the son of the mayor, did not dare to act rashly. How could a madman be so arrogant and despotic? When the apprenticeship ceremony is over, if I don't kill him, I will take his surname. Tang Jianfeng said fiercely. Jiang Tian's mental state isn't too good. Please don't lower yourself to his level. Please forgive him. Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong were so scared that their legs turned to jelly. They hoped that these young masters would show mercy and spare Jiang Tian and the Zhao family. Chapter 88. Humph. Forget it, Zhao Huqing. You have made a huge mistake by bringing him here. No one will forgive him. Fu Lanjun said coldly like a high and mighty empress. Zhao Huqing blacked out and fell backward. Wei Fong and Zhao Qianru hurried to support him. What a disaster. This kid is such a disaster. It's all my fault. I wanted to get close to the Jiang family. I went for wool and came home shorn. Zhao Huqing was angry and anxious. Tears streamed down his face. He was so regretful that he almost lost his mind. Suddenly, Tang Jianfeng looked at his phone and said excitedly, My dad said that Master Kong is here. The ceremony is about to begin. Let's go. Let's go and see. I can finally see Grandmaster Zhang's glory. That is Master Kong we are talking about. Everyone's heartbeat sped up and they looked excited. They gathered their friends and quickened their pace as they swarmed over. Behind the crouching dragon villa was the Tang family's ancestral hall. It was sacred and could be considered a forbidden area. It was only open to the public during the ancestral worship ceremony every spring festival. Today the apprenticeship ceremony was held there as well. It showed how much the Tang family valued Master Kong. The apprenticeship ceremony cost a lot of money. It was an unprecedented event. The ancestral hall was refurbished. The lawn and trees were all trimmed and transplanted. A red carpet was laid on the ground and red lanterns were hung high. The banquet in the side rooms was prepared by famous chefs in Linzhou City. The dishes were exquisite. The wines were all rare aged wines that were rarely seen in the market or imported wines that were flown in by air. Master, I didn't know you and your wife were here. Please forgive me for being late. In the ancestral hall, when he saw Jiang Tian arrive, Tang Guizhu hurriedly bowed to greet him, and he cupped his fists humbly. Don't worry about it. I met a few kids outside. Jiang Tian cupped his fists and returned the greeting with a relaxed expression. Master Kong. Mrs. Jiang. Master Kong. Mrs. Jiang. Eastern Seas Yi Gufeng Jiangzhou's Shuemingyi Linzhou's Long Wu Jing Guangsha, and the other magnates stood up and cupped their fists respectfully. I am Tang Hongtu. Greetings to Master Kong and Madame Jiang. The eldest son of the Tang family, Tang Hongtu, also returned from the military zone. He led his two younger brothers to greet Jiang Tian. He was dressed in military attire and had a resolute face. Judging from his epaulets, he was a senior colonel. However, he was extremely respectful toward Jiang Tian as if he was looking at a god. He used to be in the military and knew how powerful a transcendent master was. The young man in front of him may seem unremarkable, but in the future, there was a possibility that he could stand shoulder to shoulder with Yi Zhantian. Jiang Tian held Zhao Xueqing's hand with his left hand and walked into the ancestral hall hand in hand with Elder Tang. Everyone gathered around and greeted them with smiles and small talk. The Tang family's ancestral hall was magnificent and magnificent. It was covered in silver and gold, looking splendid and brilliant. In the middle of the large table, there were memorial tablets of the Tang family. There were more than 100 records of their ancestors. In the past few hundred years, the Tang family had produced 3 grand scholars, 2 generals and 5 prefects. After the founding of the nation, the Tang family had more than a dozen influential officials, including many feudal lords. Today's apprenticeship ceremony was like adding oil to a raging fire, full of flowers and brocade. Inside the ancestral hall, yellow banners were hung, overlapping each other. On the antique table, 3 incense sticks were inserted into the bronze incense burner. Red candles half the height of a person burned, making the scene even more solemn and serene. Tang Weiman ordered the butler, "The ceremony is about to begin. Please take your seats." Yes. The butler immediately went out to announce the news. Many people had been waiting outside for a long time. As soon as they heard the news, they rushed into the Tang family's ancestral hall. Seeing this magnificent scene, everyone exclaimed in surprise. It turned out that the Tang family was not so powerful because of luck, but because of their deep heritage. Since ancient times, the Tang family had produced many talented martial artists. They were known as a scholarly family. Over the years, many influential figures had emerged. The Tang family is indeed powerful. Yeah, I never thought that the Ming dynasty martial artist Tang Shiji was the ancestor of the Tang family. Look, this is Tang Xuanji, an important minister of the Qing dynasty. The group of tycoons looked at the portraits of the Tang family's ancestors hanging on the wall and were all flabbergasted, sighing at their inferiority. It could be seen that the Tang family attached great importance to today's apprenticeship ceremony. Otherwise, they would not have opened the Tang family's ancestral hall to welcome guests from all over the world. The discussion gradually quieted down, and the solemn scene made everyone quiet down involuntarily. After the master of ceremonies announced, Tang Guizhu and his 3 sons walked out and lined up in front of the ancestral tablets. Elder Tang was the leader. Each of them held 3 incense sticks and bowed with a solemn expression. They closed their eyes and prayed. "Everyone, I welcome you from all over the world to return the favor." After the incense sticks, Tang Guizhu turned around and looked at the crowd. "Today, Master Kong has graciously accepted Tang Linglong as his disciple. It is the fortune of my good-for-nothing granddaughter, the fortune of the Tang family, and the fortune of my ancestors." As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was shocked in their hearts. Elder Tang had praised Master Kong to the heavens. It was not wrong to say that it was Tang Linglong's fortune. It was a bit of an overstatement to say that it was the fortune of the Tang family. However, to say that it was the fortune of the Tang family's ancestors was to treat Master Kong as a god. What kind of ability does Master Kong have? Yes, the Tang family is so fond of him. Many people whispered to each other in disbelief. In the crowd, Fu Longjun nervously stared at the 2 chairs under the table. That was where Master Kong would sit. When Elder Tang met her before, he said that she also had to kneel before Master Kong and obtain Master Kang's approval before she could enter the Tang family. Her heart was uneasy. She was so nervous that she clenched her fists. In her head, she was thinking about how to bow to Master Kong in a proper manner. She felt that the Tang family was too high to reach, let alone Master Kong, who was revered as a god by the Tang family. This kind of otherworldly expert usually had a strange temper and could not be judged by common sense. If he did not like her, she would be done for. She would have no hope of marrying into the Tang family. "Miss Tang, please light the incense for the ancestors." Elder Tang led his sons to the side. The MC gently reminded her. Today Tang Linglong changed into a silk training suit. Her waist was tied with a belt, which made her waist even slimmer. Her chest rose and fell. She wore wrist guards and leggings, and she wore fish-scale shoes. She was dressed like a martial artist. Her long hair was tied into a neat ponytail. She did not wear any makeup, which made her look even more dashing. She held 3 sticks of incense in her hands and walked to the ancestral tablets. She bowed 3 times and lit the incense. Seeing this, Tang Jianfeng's face was filled with envy. His eyes were burning with passion, but he was also a bit resentful. "If I had known this, I would not have joined the army. Our Battle Tiger Special Forces does not have any transcendent state masters to guide us. If I stay in Linzhou and become Grandmaster Zhang's lackey, I might even be accepted as his disciple if I manage to establish a good relationship with him." Tang Linglong took a step back. Suddenly, the MC's eyes were filled with excitement. His face was solemn as he announced loudly, "Let's welcome Master Kong." The entire place was deathly silent. Everyone's eyes were rolling around, their eyes filled with excitement and joy. Many of them had heard of Master Kang's name more than once, but they had never seen Master Kang in person. Today they were finally going to unveil his mysterious veil. Who wouldn't be excited? Everyone guessed that this Grandmaster Zhang should be an old man in his 70s or 80s. Either he was an immortal-like expert, or he was old-fashioned and conservative, reserved in speech and manner and had a strict bearing. However, to everyone's surprise, a young man in a white t-shirt and casual pants walked out from the crowd and walked toward the brocaded armchair. Fuck. Jiang Tian has gone crazy again. Lu Changfeng said with a shocked expression. Why hasn't Zhao Huqing taken him away yet? He's up to no good again. Lu Tianla was sweating profusely. Oh my god. He has gone crazy in the Tang family's ancestral hall. How is he going to deal with this? Is he going to be beaten to death? Chuyue's mouth was wide open in shock. Her face was filled with gloating. He's dead meat. Du Tao shook his head and sighed. His eyes were gloomy. The third lord and dragon fifth are here. Judging by their temperament, this guy is going to die. What should we do? This is a mess. Where's Zhao Xueqing? Fu Lanjun was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Jiang Tian, come back here. What are you doing? Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong were scared out of their wits. They wanted to rush over and pull Jiang Tian back, but they were stopped by the hidden bodyguards. They were so anxious that they almost fell to the ground. Jiang Tian, what are you doing? Get the hell out of here. Tang Jianfeng pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted loudly. He regretted that he should have beaten Jiang Tian up and thrown him out. A madman wearing a monkey's hat at the Tang family's grand ceremony would make the guests laugh their heads off. The group of people had different expressions on their faces. Some were watching the fire from the other side and taking pleasure in the other's misfortune. Some were indifferent and mocking. Some were anxiously walking around in circles, and some were furious and couldn't wait to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. Under the gazes of countless people, Jiang Tian lazily walked to the front of the chair, then slowly turned around and sat down in an imposing manner. He crossed his legs and appeared to be calm and composed. Oh my god. The Zhao family is finished. Zhao Huqing's legs went soft and he sat down on the ground. His face was full of tears and his heart was full of despair. This kid is in big trouble today. Wei Fong wanted to cry but had no tears. She didn't know what to do. Tang Jianfeng rushed out like an arrow, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws towards Jiang Tian's collar as he angrily shouted, "Brat, get the hell out of here. What are you doing?" Tang Wanyin jumped out like a monkey and slapped Tang Jianfeng hard in the face. He shouted angrily, "How dare you disrespect Master Kang?" Tang Jianfeng's head buzzed and blood spurted from the corner of his mouth. He covered his face and said in a daze, "Dad, what did you say? Why did you hit me?" "What did third Master Tang say?" "Jiang. Master Kang." Who is Master Kang? Not only him but many people present were dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Master Tang also didn't expect this to happen. He didn't even look at Tang Jianfeng and let him be dragged out of the circle by the bodyguards. He quickly walked up to Jiang Tian, cupped his fists and bowed respectfully. "Grandmaster Jiang, it's just a small mess, please don't take it to heart." "What the hell? Jiang Tian is Master Kang? How is that possible?" Seeing this, everyone was stunned and in an uproar. They exclaimed as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. They couldn't believe it. Chapter 89. Don't worry. Jiang Tian nodded calmly. Elder Tang heaved a sigh of relief and said to the host, "Let's continue the ceremony." When Tang Linglong walked out and respectfully kowtowed to Jiang Tian 3 times and 9 times, she poured tea for Jiang Tian. "He is Master Kang?" Lu Changfeng's eyes were filled with horror. His mouth was wide open and his face was twisted. He's actually Grandmaster Jiang. No wonder Dragon 5th Xinguangxia is so afraid of him. I was wrong from the start. A storm rose in Lu Tianla's heart. It was too late for regrets. He wanted to rely on his father's recommendation to become Master Kang's disciple, but now, it was all for naught. Oh my god. How is this possible? Tang Jianfeng's eyes were filled with horror. His face was pale and he almost fainted. I don't believe it. There must be something wrong. Du Tao's face was pale and cold sweat was pouring down his face. Jiang Tian, Feng Master Kong. Fu Lanjun's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Fu Lanjun had the most complicated feeling among the crowd. She and Jiang Tian had gone on a blind date before, but she had never placed Jiang Tian in her eyes. She thought that Jiang Tian was just a crazy idiot and could even be called a fighter among trash. In her eyes, Jiang Tian was even worse than those rich playboys who indulged in eating, drinking, whoring and gambling. However, today she realized that Jiang Tian was the Master Kong that the Tang family worshipped like a god. Shock, regret, frustration, fear, all kinds of negative emotions enveloped her body and mind. Jiang Tian was so respected by the people of Jiangbei that even Tang Jianfeng's father, Tang Wanyan, was not worthy of carrying Jiang Tian's shoes. Originally, she thought that Tang Jianfeng was very charming and made her feel inferior. However, compared to Jiang Tian, Tang Jianfeng was overshadowed and looked like a clown. "Come, Mrs. Jiang, please take a seat. You should also drink the tea served by Ling Long." Elder Tang's face was full of joy as he humbly invited Zhou Xueqing to take a seat. "Elder Tang, is this okay?" Zhou Xueqing declined. When she saw Jiang Tian nodding, she sat down peacefully. She held Jiang Tian's hand and stood with her chest out and hands raised. Her actions were elegant and her eyes were bright and shining. She was like a high and mighty empress, accepting Tang Linglong's kowtow and looking down at everyone. Even Tang Linglong bowed to her. Seeing this scene, Fu Lanjun only felt a lump in her throat. It was very unpleasant and she almost cried. She looked enviously at the high and mighty Zhou Xueqing, and the remorse in her heart was like an overturning river and sea unable to be suppressed. If she had recognized Jiang Tian's extraordinariness and chosen Jiang Tian, she could have replaced Zhou Xueqing's position. How glorious and glorious would that be? Ah, old Zhou, take a look. Jiang Tian has become Master Kong. Wei Fong was feeding Zhao Huqing a pill. When she saw this scene, she was stunned and couldn't believe it. "Jiang Tian is Master Kong? Are you crazy? What's going on?" Zhao Huqing didn't believe it at all. When he was about to scold her, he was also dumbfounded. His crazy son-in-law was sitting in an armchair and accepting Tang Linglong's kowtow. His daughter was also sitting side by side with him. "Are my eyes playing tricks on me?" Zhao Huqing rubbed his eyes hard. He couldn't believe it at all. Jiang Tian was crazy. He was a good-for-nothing, the #1 idiot in heaven. He had caused countless trouble. Now he had become the respected Master Kong. What was going on? "Director Zhao, President Wei, congratulations. You have such a good son-in-law. What else can you ask for?" A few officials and big bosses who were much more powerful than Zhao Huqing immediately surrounded the couple. They flattered and congratulated them. "Old Zhao, you have good eyes. How did you see Jiang Tian's great ability?" Wei Fong was also very excited. She was beaming. This was really a case of a man ascending to heaven. "This world is too crazy." Zhao Huqing was dumbfounded. The muscles on his cheeks twitched violently. "I've said it before. My brother-in-law is the most powerful person in the world. You didn't believe me." Zhao Qianru raised her chin high. Her pretty face was full of pride. Although the apprenticeship ceremony was complicated, it didn't take long. Soon the ceremony was over. Recalling that Tang Jianfeng had scolded Jiang Tian, Tang Wanyan's heart was gloomy. He pulled Tang Jianfeng out from behind him and handed him a cup of tea. He introduced with a flattering face, "Master Kong, this is my son Tang Jianfeng. He would like to offer you a cup of tea." "Oh, I've just seen him." Jiang Tian crossed his legs and used the lid of the teacup to remove the foam in the teacup. His posture was leisurely, but he had the demeanor of a master. At this time, Tang Jianfeng was so scared that his face was pale. He shrunk like a quail. His hands were so weak that he spilled more than half of the tea. He couldn't hold it anymore. Under Tang Jianfeng's respectful gaze, Jiang Tian smiled lazily and said, "Tang Jianfeng, do you remember what I said just now? Master Kong, you can't blame me. It's all Fu Lanjun's fault for sowing discord. She said that you had humiliated her before." Tang Jianfeng was so scared that he couldn't hold the teacup. He trembled and spilled a lot of tea. "Grandmaster Jiang, please have mercy on us." Hearing this, Fu Lanjun's head buzzed. She was so shocked that she almost fainted. She never thought that Tang Jianfeng would use her as a shield at this critical moment. She couldn't imagine what kind of terrible punishment Jiang Tian would use to punish her now that he was so powerful. Jiang Tian didn't bother to look at her. He smiled non-committally and said, "Oh, is that so? Master Kong, it must be so." Tang Wanyin trembled and said, "I told them again and again not to be disrespectful to Master Kong. If it wasn't for this damned girl's bewitching words, Jianfeng wouldn't have dared. Master Kong, on account of my young and ignorant daughter, please forgive her this once." The head of the Fu family, Fu Laming, knelt on the ground. His whole body trembled as he kowtowed. "She's just an ant. I won't argue with her." Jiang Tian leisurely sipped his fragrant tea. This kind of ant wasn't worth mentioning. He could just scare her a little. If he really killed her, it would dirty his hands. She dares to be disrespectful to Master Kong. She has eyes but can't see. She has no morals and no knowledge. She's not fit to be the daughter-in-law of the Tang family. Tang Guizhu said with a gloomy face. He made the final decision. The marriage between the Tang family and the Fu family is now void. Maybe. Master Kong, give me a chance. Fu Lanjun let out a cry and rushed forward to kowtow to Jiang Tian. "Miss Fu, please conduct yourself with dignity. Don't cause trouble at the ceremony." However, a few bodyguards immediately stepped forward and stretched out their arms to form an unbreakable human wall to block her way. 2 bodyguards even directly carried her out of the door. "Let me go. I want to talk to Master Kong." Fu Lanjun's face was covered in tears and snot. She struggled with all her might. Her hair was disheveled and she even lost one of her high heels. In the end, she was dragged out by the bodyguards. "Master Kong, please take a seat. Let's drink some wine together." Tang Guizhu said with a joyful face. "Okay." Jiang Tian nodded happily. Then, under the escort of Elder Tang Yigufeng and the others, they walked out of the ancestral hall together. After Jiang Tian took his seat, the ceremony officially began. Everyone suppressed the shock in their hearts and took their seats according to the arrangement. Zhao Huqing's family was pulled to the main seat by the Tang family. They drank and chatted with Elder Tang, making everyone envious. In short, the marriage between the left and right families means that he's like an emperor in the Tang family. Lu Tianle's eyes were filled with dread and he was filled with grief. However, Jiang Tian didn't even look at him from the beginning to the end. "Am I not even qualified to be slapped in the face by you?" Lu Tianle was filled with anger, but it quickly turned into despair and helplessness. He would never be able to catch up with Jiang Tian's achievements even if he worked hard for the rest of his life. Among the guests, only Du Tao was able to maintain his composure. He didn't know much about Jiang Tian and he had a powerful backer. However, his eyes flickered and he felt a chill run down his spine. He is not even 30 yet, but he is already the Tang family's emperor and the godfather of Jiang Bei. "Cousin, I am afraid that even you are not as good as him." He thought of his cousin Qin Bo, who was extremely talented and had made brilliant achievements in Jinling, overlooking the vast Jinling. He had thought that no one in Wuxia would be able to surpass Qin Bo. However, he didn't expect that there would be such a terrifying talent in Linzhou City. "Qin Bo, I am afraid that you will have to speed up if you want to catch up with Master Kong. Now he can even arm wrestle with your father." Suddenly there was an uproar. The chairs at the head table moved as Jiang Tian stood up. It turned out that Master Kong had come out to propose a toast with the Tang family and the Zhao family. "Grandmaster Jiang, it's been a long time. Now that I've met you today, you're indeed handsome and have an extraordinary bearing. Master Kong, I finally get to meet you. Master Kong, if you have time, please come to my house for a few days." Jiang Tian had been drinking for a long time. However, regardless of whether it was a tycoon or a high-ranking official, he would always drink in one gulp. They didn't dare to disrespect Zhao Huqing. They smiled and said, "Brother Zhao, you have such a good son-in-law. You don't need to be a director anymore." Zhao Huqing's face was red from drinking. He smiled proudly and said, "I still need to be a director? With a good son-in-law like me, you don't have to worry about not being able to rely on me for the rest of your life. I've always said that this son-in-law of mine is both talented and good-looking. Even Lu Wangfeng and Wu Chaohui are slightly inferior to him. I'm not afraid of offending you. My eyes are the best at judging people. Back then, my daughter Xueqing was the flower of Linzhou City. Many rich families wanted to marry me. However, I feel that Jiang Tian has unlimited potential. He is a talented young man. Today is indeed a good day. Zhao Huqing laughed. Everyone laughed along with him. Tang Weiman raised his wine glass and clinked it with Zhao Huqing's. He smiled and said, Director Zhao, I heard that you are doing well as the director of the Development Zone office. I wanted to give you more responsibilities. The Municipal Committee office is lacking a director. I didn't expect you to have the intention to retire. What? You want me to be the director of the Municipal Committee office? Zhao Huqing was shocked when he heard this. After being pinched by Wei Fong on the back of his waist, he finally reacted. He hurriedly drank the wine in his cup in one gulp, patted his chest and said passionately, Since Secretary Tang thinks highly of me, then how can I leave? It's my duty. I'll do it. Jiang Tian was toasting at the head of the group, and Zhao Huqing, this cheap father-in-law, was following closely behind. He saw that Jiang Tian's t-shirt was wrinkled because of sitting for too long. Thus he helped Jiang Tian fix his t-shirt countless times. After more than a dozen drinks, Jiang Tian finally stopped at the table of Lu Tianle, Tang Jianfeng, Fu Lanjun, Zheng Li Chuyue and Lu Chongfeng. Chapter 90. Mayor Lu, do you still think that your son is a good match for my sister-in-law? Jiang Tian asked with a smile. Lu Yue rose to his feet and said in a trembling voice, Master Kong, I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. Well, as long as you don't take revenge on the Zhao family. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. What is going on? Tang Weiman frowned and asked. Zhao Huqing leaned over and whispered in his ear. Oh well, look at what you have done. Just wait for the disciplinary committee to investigate you. Tang Weiman's face turned pale. He turned around and escorted Jiang Tian out of the room. Master Kong, Secretary Tang, please listen to me. Mayor Lu was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He collapsed under the table and frothed at the mouth. Dad. Honey. Mrs. Lu and Lu Chongfeng panicked and started to slap Mr. Lu's face. Lu Tianle didn't even flinch when his uncle was beaten by Jiang Tian. He sighed and thought to himself, I am afraid that after today, no one in Jiangbei will be able to defeat Jiang Tian. No wonder he doesn't care about the Lu family. He is powerful enough to ignore them. It seems that the Tang family is treating Jiang Tian like a god. Looking at Jiang Tian's departing figure, Chuyue's gaze was filled with terror and horror. Jiang Tian made a round of toasts. Then, under the escort of Elder Tang and the others, he entered the inner hall to discuss important matters. Other than Yi Gufeng, Jing Guangxia, Dragon Fifth and a few other tycoons, there were also a few representatives from other major families. Even Zhou Zhenghao and Lu Zikun were not qualified to join the meeting. The tycoons were not surprised and continued to eat and drink. They knew that Jiang Tian was like a dragon in the sky and not everyone could talk to him. Isn't Jiang Tian a lunatic? How did he become so powerful? Yeah. This is unbelievable. This is too strange. However, Lu Tianle, Du Tao and the other young masters all had ugly expressions on their faces. They were upset as if they had just eaten a fly. Jiang Tian, the son-in-law of the Zhao family, was ignorant and incompetent. He was penniless and had been poisoned by alcohol. He was crazy and foolish. No matter how one looked at him, he didn't look like an expert. But now she had become a phoenix, leaped through the dragon gate and became a dragon. She had become an honored guest of the Tang family, crushing them like chickens and dogs. Lanjun, didn't you investigate Jiang Tian? How could this be? Lu Tianle looked at the dumbstruck Fu Lanjun and asked. Many people looked at Fu Lanjun gloatingly. After confirming her relationship with Tang Jianfeng, she became arrogant and offended many people. Moreover, they all knew that she had once gone on a blind date with Jiang Tian. She had even thrown Jiang Tian's gift at Jiang Tian's face and ridiculed Jiang Tian for being a toad lusting after a swan's meat. She was probably regretting it now. I don't know what happened either. Fu Lanjun's face turned pale. She held Tang Jianfeng's arm and begged, Jianfeng, please beg Grandpa Tang and Master Kong again. We can't let our marriage go like this. Zheng Li raised her glass and savored the taste. She sneered in her heart. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. Offending Master Kong is a dead end, isn't it? After Jiang Tian and the others left, Tang Jianfeng said angrily, Humph. I don't need his approval. I will marry you if I want to. No one can stop me. He didn't expect that a lunatic could suppress him. He even knelt in front of everyone and was slapped by his father. The more Tang Jianfeng thought about it, the angrier he became. If it weren't for the Tang family, he wouldn't have dominated the Jiangbei region. None of the people present dared to agree. Everyone was silent. He was the young lord of the Tang family, so he could show off. However, no one dared to offend Master Kong. Suddenly, Tang Wanyin walked out of the room and bellowed, "Come here, you bastard." "Dad, what are you doing?" Tang Jianfeng's face turned pale, but he still followed his father. He followed his father into the tea room and saw Jiang Tian sitting on a wooden armchair, sipping tea calmly. Beside him were Old Man Tang, his two uncles, and Yi Gufeng. They all looked at Qin Fan with reverence. Old Man Tang had already figured out what was going on. His face was as white as a sheet of paper. Tang Jianfeng was taken aback. Tang Wanyin slapped Tang Jianfeng's face and scolded, "You bastard. Apologize to Master Kong." Tang Jianfeng felt dizzy from the slap and staggered a little. However, Tang Jianfeng could only cower under the immense pressure. He said in a trembling voice, "Master Kong, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me." "Forgive you?" Jiang Tian leisurely sipped his tea and said with a faint smile, "Have you forgotten what I said before? I have already apologized. What else do you want?" Tang Jianfeng's blood rushed to his head as he shouted, "Bastard! How can you talk to Master Kong like that? Do you have a death wish?" Everyone from the Tang family shouted. Jiang Tian swallowed a mouthful of tea and smiled. "I told you that I will break one of your legs as punishment. You..." Tang Jianfeng's face was horrified. He looked at everyone from the Tang family for help. Tang Wanyin's face darkened. He forced a smile and said, "Master Kong is still in the military. If he breaks his leg, I am afraid that it will affect him greatly." "Shut up, third brother." Old Man Tang slammed the table and said angrily, "He doesn't look like a soldier. Shall Wei break his leg?" "How dare you, guard Wei?" Seeing that Old Man Tang was angry and Xiao Wei was approaching, Tang Jianfeng's face paled. He suddenly ran toward the door. "Colonel Tang seemed to have doubts about whether I have reached the transcendent state or not." Jiang Tian smiled at Tang Hongtu and then waved his finger. "Then open your eyes and see for yourself." Puff. A translucent wind blade, more than a meter long, swept out like mercury flowing down the ground. Tang Jianfeng's leg was cut off as he ran toward the door. Blood gushed out from the wound and he fell to the ground. Tang Jianfeng bounced on the ground, leaving a trail of blood on the floor. "Jianfei." Tang Wanyin cried out involuntarily. His heart ached and his face twitched. He turned around and looked at Jiang Tian. His face was indifferent and his posture was relaxed as if nothing had happened. "Take him out." Elder Tang waved his hand, not showing the slightest displeasure. Instead, he bowed gratefully and said in a deep voice, "Thank you, Mr. Jiang, for teaching him a lesson. Let him know that there is always someone better out there." "A transcendent grandmaster? There are only a handful of them in the entire Wuxia army." Tang Hongtu exclaimed in disbelief. "Is this the power of Master Kong? He even broke Tang Jianfeng's leg. I am afraid that from now on, Master Kang's voice will be the only one in the entire Jiangbei region." When Tang Jianfeng was carried out of the room, Lu Tianla, Fu Longjun and Du Tao were all stunned. Cold sweat ran down their backs and their faces were as pale as a sheet. "You can't afford to offend Master Kong and Lin Zhou." The timid young Master Tang was trembling in fear as if he had seen a ghost. "Well, this kid needs to be taught a lesson." Jiang Tian's expression was calm as if nothing had happened. He looked at the dumbfounded Tang Hongtu and said with a smile, "What did you just say? You want me to be the head sergeant of the War Tiger Special Forces?" "Yes, Master Kong. As the saying goes, if you have good martial arts skills, you can sell them to the king." Tang Hongtu said patiently, "Grandmaster Zhang's cultivation is so heaven-defying. I am here to invite you to join the War Tiger Special Forces and become the head sergeant." After hearing his explanation, Jiang Tian finally understood the situation. There were 6 military regions in Wuxia, and each of them had their own ace special forces. Each of them had around 1,000 members. The War Tiger Special Forces were carefully selected from the 6 military regions. There were only 100 of them and they were directly under the command of the General Staff Department. The elimination rate of this special forces was an astonishing 90%. They carried out top-secret military missions and their casualty rate was as high as 20%. Every member of the War Tiger Special Forces cost a few million to train. Most of them were martial artists. Many of them were peak-stage iron body martial artists and internal force users. They were the most valuable assets of the country. Tang Hongtu served in the General Staff Department and he directly contacted the War Tiger Special Forces on behalf of the General Staff Department. That was why he invited Jiang Tian. The head sergeant of the War Tiger Special Forces would have a few general stars in the end. Of course, it might take some time. But if you are interested, you can join the War Tiger Special Forces and become a colonel. After the introduction, Tang Hongtu said with a face full of admiration. Everyone else was also envious. He would be a colonel at the very beginning. He was almost 50 years old and had just been promoted to a colonel with the support of the Tang family. However, Jiang Tian was only 25 years old and he had already achieved it. At this time Tang Linglong was moved. She smiled and said, "Master, please go ahead. When the time comes, I will be the head sergeant of the War Tiger Special Forces." How cool would that be? Jiang Tian crossed his legs and smiled. How is the War Tiger compared to the Wuxia Long Formation? Well, Tang Hongtu was taken aback and said, the Wuxia Long Formation is not part of the military. It is used to fight against the supernatural forces and suppress the evil martial artists. The War Tiger Special Forces is nothing. Most importantly, the Long Formation has Yi Zhantian as its leader. We only have one transcendent grandmaster. There is still a long way to go. Then his face was full of regret and helplessness. It seems that I am not suitable for the War Tiger Special Forces. I don't know how to command and I don't know how to use modern weapons. Jiang Tian shook his head and said lightly. Plus, I have not reached the peak of my cultivation. I need to focus on my cultivation. Where would I find the time to think about these things? Master Kong, you don't want to join? Tang Hongtu couldn't believe it. The position of the head sergeant of the War Tiger Special Forces was coveted by countless heroes. He calmed himself down and explained, the War Tiger Special Forces have a clear division of tasks. Master Kong only needs to teach them martial arts. As for modern weapons, tactics, cooperation and anti-terrorism, there will be other instructors to take over. You don't have to worry about it. Let me think about it. I really don't have the time right now. Jiang Tian cracked a smile and said, I still need to go to the Shinong School's Elixir Exchange Conference with Master Chiu. I need to make another breakthrough. The head sergeant of the War Tiger Special Forces was a high position in the eyes of others. However, in Jiang Tian's eyes, it was not worth mentioning. Back in the day he had conquered all races in the universe. Countless emperors, immortal emperors and monster emperors revered him. He had enjoyed all kinds of glory. After 10,000 years of ups and downs he had seen through everything. He only cared about his wife, family and friendship. Chapter 91. However, he was afraid that people would think that he was being unreasonable. Therefore he had no choice but to let it pass. That's indeed the case. We've already discussed this on the cruise ship. Qiu Gong said with a smile. Everyone looked at Qiu Gong in a different light. It was an honor to be able to accompany Master Kong. Mr. Jiang, why don't you think about it again? Tang Hongtu tried to persuade Jiang Chen again. However, old man Tang waved his hand and smiled. Forget it, Hongtu. Master Kong is very busy. He can't give you a reply right away. That's all for today. It's getting late. I have to go. After that, Jiang Tian took Zhou Xueqing's hand, stood up and slowly walked away. After sending Jiang Tian and the others out of the door, the Tang family members returned to the tea room. Tang Hongtu pondered for a while and then frowned. Father, what did we do wrong today? Why did Master Kong reject the invitation? It's all Jian Feng's fault. How did you teach your son? Tang Weimin glared at Tang Wanyan. Second brother, didn't you also not see Grandmaster Zhang's ability back then? Tang Wanyan's face was filled with embarrassment. Master Kong is a dragon among men. He has the ability to swallow the sun and the moon. Why would he care about Jian Feng's provocation? That's not the point. Old man Tang pondered for a while and then suggested. Hongtu, you can try to persuade the other grandmasters as well. No. Tang Hongtu shook his head bitterly. Our leader once went to Hubei province to ask Hong Tianzhao for help, but he refused. Hong Tianzhao has already reached the phenomenal state. Elder Tang's eyes flickered when he heard that. He nodded and said, he alone dominates Hubei province and has tens of billions of assets. He's used to being a local tyrant. Naturally, he won't take your invitation to heart. Then he heaved a sigh and said, the other grandmasters are older and more senior. I'm afraid they won't agree either. Are these martial Dao grandmasters as arrogant as master? Why don't you accept such a good offer? Tang Linglong interrupted. A grave expression appeared on Elder Tang's face as he sighed. A martial Dao grandmaster is like a divine dragon in the heavens. They're all tyrants and have already achieved success and fame. Why would they be willing to come out of seclusion? He sighed deeply and said, Hero Wu of the Wu family is famous in the southwest, and his influence covers the Yunggui region. Huaqingtun stood on both sides of the Yellow River, and all the heroes of the Central Plains bowed to him. They called him the sky-supporting pillar of the Central Plains. Yi Daodenier of the Yi clan, who ran amok in the Yangtze River Delta and dominated the Suzhou and Zhejiang regions, was so rich that it could rival a country. Li Tuofeng of the northwest, traversing the great desert of the western border with eagle eyes and wolf eyes, looking down on the world with disdain. He is also known as a tyrant of a region. But Master Kong is still very young and hasn't made a name for himself yet. Why did he refuse? Tang Hongtu was unwilling to accept this. If he could get on Jiang Tian's good side, War Tiger might be able to compete with the Huaxiaolong formation. At the same time, due to the merit of his referral, he would probably receive 2 stars on his shoulder. Master Kong will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Yi Zhantian in the future. Of course, he is arrogant. As soon as Elder Tang said this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Master Kong values family and kinship very much. I'm afraid he can't bear to part with his wife and family. Elder Tang's eyes glinted with wisdom as he said, have you heard that the Zhao Pharmaceutical Company is not doing well and that the Jiang family of Jinlin City is in deep trouble? Yeah. Yi Gufeng asked us to raise a few billion on the high seas gambling ship. He said it was for the Jiang family's emergency. Tang Wanyan slapped his thigh and exclaimed excitedly. You guys are talking too much. What War Tiger and Dragon Group Martial Dao Grandmaster? I finally have the right to interrupt. It seems that if we want to invite Master Kong we should work on the Jiang family. Tang Guizhu pondered for a moment and said with a serious face. Yes, Master, I understand. Tang Hongtu and the other 2 nodded and said solemnly. At night, back at the Zhao family's Lakeview Villa, Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong called Jiang Tian, his wife, and Zhao Qianru to the study and said solemnly, Jiang Tian children, we have a family meeting today. Zhao Qianru sneered and said happily, Dad, we only have a few people in our family. A small company in a family. You're too good at flattering yourself. Zhao Huqing smiled awkwardly. Wei Fong said seriously, be serious. Now that we have your brother-in-law, things are different. Zhao Qianru's face immediately tensed up. Zhao Huqing coughed and said, Today I called you here to announce something important. From today onwards, Jiang Tian will be the chairman of Zhao Pharmaceutical Company and lead the overall situation. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said, Uncle Zhao, Auntie Zhao, this is difficult. I don't understand business management. I don't want to do it. Zhao Huqing smiled and said, Son-in-law, I know you are very capable and have a lot of connections. Our family's company is a little small and we've wronged you. However, the Jiang family situation is not good now. You have no obstacles here and you can show off your skills. Wei Fong also tried to persuade Jiang Tian with a face full of joy. That's right, Jiang Tian. If you make some achievements here, you can return to the Jiang family in the future. You can even wield the power of the family. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly and said, Uncle Zhao, Auntie Zhao, don't mention this again. I really don't have the time. Zhao Huqing and Wei Fong's faces fell as they looked at each other. Without Jiang Tian's help, Zhao Pharmaceutical Company had missed a great opportunity. Zhao Huqing hesitated for a moment and said apologetically, Jiang Tian, is it because Uncle Zhao and Auntie Zhao's attitude towards you was not good before? Did you feel a little uncomfortable? If you're unhappy you can kick me or punch me. Uncle, what are you talking about? I didn't perform well before, so it's natural for you to be prejudiced against me. Jiang Tian was calm and indifferent. He said calmly, Yes, I still have a lot of things to do. I really can't split myself. Zhao Huqing thought about it and agreed. Jiang Tian was now on the same level as Elder Tang, and many powerhouses in Jiangbei had submitted to him. What he was going to do must be earth-shattering. Why would he care about Zhao Pharmaceutical Company? Thinking of this, he and Wei Fong sighed at the same time. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "However, we are still a family. Something happens to the family, how can I just stand by and watch? It's the same whether I take this position or not." Zhao Huqing was overjoyed when he heard this. He slapped his thigh and said, "Jiang Tian, it's enough to hear you say that. Qing'er, from now on you will be the chairman and your auntie will be the president to help you. What do you think?" "Jiang Tian, can I do it?" Zhao Xueqing was still a little hesitant and didn't know how to decide. She looked at Jiang Tian and asked. From the head of the R&D department to the chairman, it was a qualitative leap. She was not valued at all in the Zhao family and she was even suppressed. But now she was going to be the chairman. She understood that this was all because of Jiang Tian. It could be said that when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. But at the same time, she also understood that the problems she had to face were more and more complicated. It was a challenge. "Why not?" Wei Fong held her hand and said affectionately, "Jiang Tian is so capable. He will help you and your father and I will also support you." "Yes, Qing'er, don't decline," Zhao Huqing said with a smile. "Sister, you can do it. You are the best, we all believe in you." Zhao Qianru said innocently, "Xueqing, no matter what you do, I will support you." In the end, Jiang Tian also spoke. Zhao Xueqing's beautiful eyes flickered. She looked around at everyone and finally nodded. "Okay, then I agree." With Zhao Xueqing's low profile and gentle personality, she actually didn't like to show her face. But she felt that Jiang Tian was already too dazzling and stood too high. If she didn't work harder, she might be forgotten and abandoned by Jiang Tian one day. In the remaining few days, Jiang Tian drew countless sketches and combined them with the feng shui of No. 1 King's Mansion to determine the method of setting up the spirit-gathering formation. With his beloved wife by his side, Jiang Tian's heart was filled with peace and satisfaction. His efficiency was also much higher. On this day, Zhao Xueqing suddenly received a phone call. She hurriedly ran to Jiang Tian's side. "Mom called." Jiang Tian's eyes suddenly turned red. He was emotional. Homesick. Since his rebirth, he missed his parents very much, but he didn't have the courage to call them. The guilt in his heart was too heavy, and he didn't even have the courage to face it. If he didn't offend that wealthy family in Yanjing, the three major families in Jinling wouldn't have dared to make a move on the Jiang family. In his previous life, his parents wouldn't have died. Jiang Tian picked up the phone. "Stinky monkey, you didn't bully Xueqing, right? Don't think that you are so great just because you are a member of the Jiang family. Xueqing is gentle and sensible. She is definitely worthy of you. If you dare to bully her, this old lady will skin you, a monkey. Your grandfather allowed you to marry into the Zhao family only as a temporary measure. Don't blame your grandfather for being ruthless. When the Jiang family settles down, I will definitely bring you and Xueqing back. Don't indulge in debauchery outside. Which of those girls in the bar is as pretty as Qing'er? And none of them are clean. Aren't you afraid of getting sick?" Jiang Tian had just said one sentence when his mother's words came out like a string of cannonballs. His mother, Zhang Wanqing, came from the Zhang family in Yanjing. Back then she was one of the top socialites in Yanjing. However, she fell in love with his father, who came from an ordinary family. At that time, the Jiang family hadn't risen yet. The Zhang family looked down on them and didn't agree to this marriage. After Zhang Wanqing married into the Jiang family, she relied on a few ancestral prescriptions of the Jiang family to run the small Medicine King Corporation. She entered the Jinling market from a small Qixia county and spread her influence throughout the country. 2 years ago she was successfully listed and her market value reached billions. Zhang Wanqing could be said to be a strong woman. She had a tenacious personality and was even more resolute than her father, Jiang Zhixing. She was extremely efficient and spoke the same way. But the last sentence from his mother made Jiang Tian's face turn red. He gloomily said, "Mom, don't talk nonsense. Xueqing is listening." "Oh, Xueqing is here too. Mom is joking." Zhang Wanqing smiled awkwardly. "Mom, don't worry." Zhao Xueqing sweetly called out. "Jiang Tian is very obedient now. He has never done anything reckless. Good, good, good. The two of you love each other and are safe. I even have the energy to work. Zhang Wanqing was gratified. Jiang Tian could feel his mother's deep love and worry. His eyes welled up with tears and he forced a smile. Mom, you have to take care of yourself too. Don't throw your life away when you work. Don't worry. With me around, the Medicine King Corporation won't fall. Chapter 92. Of course my son is the best. Zhang Wanqing had an inexplicable confidence in Jiang Tian. She smiled and said, if you have time, come back to Xianxia County and visit me and your sister Wei Wei. Why are you in Xianxia County? Jiang Tian was stunned. My mother is the CEO of the Medicine King Group, and the headquarters of the Medicine King Group is in Jinling. Why do I have to go back to Xianxia County? It's all because of your uncle and aunt, Zhang Wanqing scolded angrily, then changed the topic. It's okay, Xianxia County is pretty good. This was where the Medicine King Group started its business. I won't be discouraged. I'll start all over again and create more glory. Mom, don't worry. I'll come back to visit you soon. Jiang Tian smiled stiffly. After hanging up the phone, his eyes shone with a sharp, cold light. His mother didn't say it clearly, but Jiang Tian recalled the memories of his previous life. His mother was the founder of the Medicine King Group and was once the CEO. However, after he offended that big family in Yanjing, his uncle's family started to use this as an excuse to wantonly weaken his mother's authority in the family business. Now his mother was no longer the CEO of the Medicine King Group. She had been demoted to the general manager of the Qixiao pharmaceutical factory. She wasn't even the manager of a branch company. His mother had sacrificed too much for him. In order to protect him, she had given up her dreams and future. Thinking of this, Jiang Tian felt pain in his heart. His eyes gradually became firm as he thought to himself, Mom, in my previous life I was a good-for-nothing. I caused you a lot of trouble and became the shame of the family. In this life I must change my fate and become your glory. I'll help you control the Medicine King Group and fulfill your long-cherished wish of becoming the Queen of Medicine. I'll set up the spirit gathering formation as soon as possible and break through to the middle stage of qi refining. Then I'll go back to visit Mom, Dad and Sister Wei Wei. Jiang Tian's eyes became more determined. Just as he was thinking, there was a knock on the door. Yigufeng Qiugong and Tang Linglong arrived together. Master Kong, the pill exchange is about to start. Mr. Yi has spent a lot of money to buy a few tickets. We can leave now. Qiugong bowed humbly. You still need to buy tickets? Uncle Yi, how much did you spend? Jiang Tian asked in surprise. Not much. A ticket is only a mere 1 million. Yi Gufeng smiled faintly. This Shinong school and the Hong family really know how to make money. Jiang Tian shook his head and was secretly speechless. That's right. Although Shinong school lives in seclusion in the remote mountains and marshes, it has a profound foundation and a huge industry in the secular world. Duke Qiu nodded and said with a smile, I've made a rough estimate. I'm afraid it's at least 100 billion. In the cultivation world, many sects were divided into outer and inner sections. The outer court was in charge of managing the businesses of the mortal world and plundering wealth. The inner court was in charge of cultivating diligently, raising their cultivation base and combat strength, and providing protection for the outer court. The two went hand in hand. It seemed that many sects in Wuxia were the same. Jiang Tian seemed to have understood something. He nodded slightly and smiled. Linglong, are you here to join in the fun as well? Master, please bring me along to broaden my horizons. Otherwise, if I go out and don't know anything, wouldn't I ruin your reputation? Tang Linglong was wearing a white training suit. Her aura was ethereal and cold. She had already begun to have the temperament of a cultivator. That's good. Then let's go together. Jiang Tian nodded and smiled faintly. Jiang Tian, how long are you going to be gone for? I can't bear to leave you. Before they parted, Zhou Xian pulled Jiang Tian's hand and shook it. She was about to cry. Still crying? Jiang Tian scratched her delicate nose and said with a smile, It won't be long. I'll be back in a week. Then you must be careful and take care of yourself. Zhou Xian reluctantly said her goodbyes. Jiang Tian asked Ghost Kick to stay in Linzhou to protect them. He did not alert anyone else and brought Tang Linglong and Duke Qiu to the elixir exchange meeting. 3 days later on the highway in Hubei province. Mr. Jiang, the Shinong School is located in the mountains of Xianxia in northern Hubei province. It's very low-key and mysterious. Duke Qiu was also a powerful cultivator. However, in front of Jiang Tian he trembled as if he was treading on thin ice. He smiled apologetically and said, "The Shinong School is proficient in alchemy. Among the many sects, it is ranked in the top 3 in the world. Secondly, it is excellent in martial arts. It is comparable to the back mountain of Amei Wudong. Medicine and martial arts are both top knowledge. How can the Shinong School take care of both?" Tang Linglong was in charge of driving. He was puzzled and asked. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for thousands of years. He had seen countless sects that were famous for medicine and alchemy. He was very clear about this. Immediately he smiled and said, "Linglong, no matter how high your cultivation is or how great your abilities are, can you guarantee that you will be invincible?" Jiang Tian said calmly, "Even if you are the best in the world, who can guarantee that you will not be injured or poisoned for the rest of your life?" Hearing this, Tang Linglong nodded and said, "Master, you are right. Martial arts cultivators lick the blood on the blade. It is inevitable that they will be injured or poisoned. They will need people to treat them. If you can become friends with medicine and alchemy experts like the Shinong School, they will be able to save your life with a little trick. That is equivalent to having an extra life." Master Kang's insight is so profound. This old man is very impressed. Duke Qiu said with reverence, "They can not only cure diseases, but also refine some alchemy pills to change one's foundation and improve one's cultivation. Needless to say, this is very attractive to martial artists. That is why the Shinong School has friends all over the world. They are the most difficult to provoke. Some famous sects are even willing to use their most powerful techniques to befriend the Shinong School. Yes, that's the reason. How can the Shinong sect not be strong since they have learned so much from others?" Jiang Tian said with a smile. "Master Kong, please don't call me Duke Qiu. Just call me Qiu Qiu." Duke Qiu said nervously. Master Kong was already a transcendent grandmaster, but he was only at the peak of internal force cultivation. How could Master Kong call him Duke Qiu? Jiang Tian let out a wry smile. Duke Qiu's cultivation was not bad, but he had such a funny name, Yuan Qiu Qiu. Hangkou is just up ahead. The Elixir Exchange Conference will be held at Mount Garuda in the suburbs of Hangkou. Why don't we rest here tonight? Yuan Qiu Qiu said with a smile. Mount Garuda was a county-level city with a population of around 300,000. The environment was pleasant and the city was affluent. As soon as Jiang Tian entered Mount Garuda, he immediately caught a whiff of a bitter herbal aroma. Looking around, the streets were filled with traditional Chinese medicine shops. Some of them were even hawking their wares by the roadside. Mount Garuda is right next to Xianxia. The trade of traditional Chinese medicine is very developed. It is also known as the medicine capital. Yuan Qiu Qiu explained. Jiang Tian nodded and scanned the herbs with his divine will. However, he was disappointed. Most of these herbs were cultivated by humans using fertilizers and pesticides. They lacked spirit qi and some were even poisonous. A while later they arrived at the Medicine Capital Hotel. It was a 5-star hotel with a nice environment. After they checked in, Jiang Tian and Yuan Qiu Qiu went to the restaurant for dinner together with Tang Linglong. "Jiang Tian, why are you here?" While they were eating, a surprised voice called out to them. Jiang Tian turned around and found the voice familiar, but he couldn't remember who it was. He cracked a smile and asked, "Who are you?" She was a tall and well-dressed girl in her late 20s. She was dressed in a professional suit, and her features were as beautiful as a painting. Her makeup was exquisite. "You're crazy. I don't even recognize your cousin. Are you looking for a beating?" The girl glared at Jiang Tian and gave him a punch. "What's you? Why are you here?" Jiang Tian immediately understood and smiled. So it was his second uncle's daughter, Jiang Lin. Jiang Lin was the pride of the Jiang family. She graduated from Huaqing University's School of Management and participated in the management of the family. She negotiated a few big projects and was now a middle-level manager in the Medicine King Group. Her annual salary was 5 to 600,000. Jiang Lin was doted on by the elders and was like a princess in the Jiang family. She had always been arrogant and proud. In her previous life she looked down on Jiang Tian, the devil incarnate who caused trouble time and time again. She often mocked him. However, Jiang Lin was loyal to the family and was responsible. She fought side by side with her grandfather and persevered until the last moment of the Jiang family's collapse. From this point, Jiang Tian didn't like her, but he didn't hate her either. I'm participating in the elixir exchange to see if I can buy some prescriptions. With a trace of sorrow between her brows, Jiang Lin sighed. The products of our Medicine King group aren't doing well now. Oh. Jiang Tian nodded as a hint of seriousness appeared between his brows. In his previous life, the Qin family of Jinling's herbal corporations suddenly got hold of many precious prescriptions and started to target the Medicine King group's products. The Medicine King group's products didn't sell well, and this was the main reason why the Medicine King group's capital chain was broken. What are you doing here? Why aren't you staying in Linzhou City and being a hedonistic young master? Jiang Lin asked curiously. The Zhao family had been keeping Jiang Tian's alcohol poisoning a secret from the Jiang family. In Jiang Lin's eyes, Jiang Tian was still the hedonistic young master who bullied people in Jinling. I'm the same as you. I'm also here to participate in the medicinal pill exchange. Jiang Tian said with a faint smile. You're representing the Zhao family? Jiang Lin smiled disdainfully. The Zhao family pharmaceutical corporation's research and development ability is very poor. You want to buy prescriptions with just a few million yuan? Can you even afford it? Hee. Jiang Tian smiled. He couldn't be bothered to explain. He was the Taichu Celestial Lord and had already reached the pinnacle of elixir prescriptions. Why would he need to buy prescriptions? He was here to see if Shenong School had any wood-type cultivation resources. Jiang Tian, everyone at the elixir exchange is an expert. Don't you go around causing trouble. Otherwise I'll tell Grandpa and ask your parents to teach you a lesson. Jiang Lin put on the airs of a big sister and threatened with a stern expression. I know. I won't go around. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and didn't argue with this cousin of his who was using a chicken feather as an arrow. Jiang Lin, you're here? Why don't you have a drink with me at the bar? Suddenly a teasing voice sounded. Jiang Tian turned his head to look. Surrounded by a few young men, a tall and handsome young man walked over arrogantly with a sinister smile on his face. Qin Bo. Jiang Tian's face darkened. A murderous glint flashed across his eyes. Chapter 93. Qin Bo was the young master of the Qin family, one of the three most influential families in Jin City. He was well known in the circle of Jin City tycoons. Although he was not a martial artist, he graduated from the Ivy League Business School and had worked for a renowned pharmaceutical giant. He was the head of the herbal group. In Qin Bo's previous life, Jiang Tian had always been under his shadow. Qin Bo and Jiang Tian were both from a family of pharmaceutical giants. They had similar backgrounds and were often compared to each other. Jiang Tian was a useless piece of trash that didn't have a single penny to his name, while Qin Bo was a handsome young man that seemed to be even more outstanding. In Qin Bo's previous life, Qin Bo commanded the herbal group to launch a series of attacks on the Medicine King group. In the end, the Medicine King group was unable to make ends meet and declared bankruptcy. Jiang Tian still remembered that after the fall of the Jiang family, Jiang Tian and Jiang Lin went to Qin Bo and begged him to give them some shares. But at that time, Qin Bo was like a noble that felt disdain towards Jiang Tian, and he wantonly humiliated and ridiculed Jiang Tian and the others before beating them up like wild dogs and blasting them out of the door. Seeing Qin Bo, Jiang Lin's face flashed with a hint of panic, but she soon calmed down and said, "Of course I am willing to drink with young Master Qin, but unfortunately I have something important to attend to tonight." What is more important than accompanying young Master Qin? Jiang Lin, young Master Qin is giving you face, yet you don't want to give him face? The few young masters were like stars surrounding the moon. They clustered around Qin Bo as they approached and sneered. "Come with me. Do you think I will mistreat you?" Qin Bo smiled evilly and whispered a few words into Jiang Lin's ear. As for Jiang Tian, he didn't even look at him. It was as if Jiang Tian was a puff of dirty air. Jiang Lin's face paled. She shook her head and took a few steps back. "Are you going to turn me down?" Qin Bo was enraged. He sneered and said, "I am going to drag you away. What are you going to do about it?" "Let's go, young Master Qin is only treating you to a drink." Suddenly, a few of his followers rushed forward and dragged Jiang Lin away. "Master Qin, I really can't go. If you do this again, I'll call the police. Jiang Lin was so scared that her face turned ghastly pale. She struggled with all her might and begged for mercy. Qin Bo was one of the top thugs in Jinling, committing all sorts of crimes. What good would come of following him? Several staff members who followed Jiang Lin stepped forward to mediate, but the other party did not give them any face at all. He lifted his foot and kicked them to the ground. For a moment the employees were dumbfounded. In the business world they were used to deceiving each other, but when had they ever seen such a scene? What are you doing? How dare you molest a young lady in broad daylight? Several patrolmen rushed over when they heard the news and wanted to stop them. You're asking for a beating. A young master rushed out from behind Qin Bo and slapped the head of the police. He scolded harshly, I'm here. Can't you see me? Young Master Jiang, we're sorry, we'll leave now. The police officers were so scared that their faces turned pale. They kept quiet out of fear and bowed as they left. Young Master Jiang was the son of the mayor of Mount Garuda City. He was a tyrant in this city and no one dared to provoke him. If young Master Jiang wanted to be unreasonable, he would probably tear down the Medicine City Hotel and strip them of their police uniforms. Young Master Qin came to Mount Garuda City this time and invested 300 million to build a pharmaceutical company. He's an important investor of our city government. Can you afford to be blamed for affecting the investment environment? Young Master Jiang shouted at the police officers and became even more arrogant. He pointed at the group of police officers and scolded them. Seeing that the police did not dare to intervene, Jiang Lin was even more desperate. He was about to cry. Qin Bo, how dare you bully a woman of the Jiang family? Are you tired of living? Get out of here. Suddenly, a calm voice sounded, making Jiang Lin, who was in despair, happy. However, when she saw that it was Jiang Tian who spoke, she could not help but feel bitter. Jiang Tian, don't cause trouble. This cousin of his was ignorant and incompetent. Ever since he was expelled from Jinling, he had lost his mind. Wasn't he courting death by going against Qin Bo? Besides, the Medicine King group was on the verge of collapse. How could he afford to offend Qin Bo? In her opinion, Jiang Tian should have called the police or begged for mercy. He should not be so direct. Oh, isn't this the loser Jiang? How dare you talk to young Master Qin like that? Do you still think you're the young master of the Jiang family? Your engagement was broken off and you even went against that family in Yanjin. You were even expelled from your family. How dare you say that young Master Qin is tired of living? You're just a loser. Among the young masters, a few of them were from Jinling and were close to Jiang Tian. They immediately mocked and ridiculed him. Qin Bo put his hands in his pockets and looked at Jiang Tian as if he was looking at an idiot. He said arrogantly, Jiang Tian, how dare you talk to me like that? How dare you? Now kneel down and kowtow to me. Call me Grandpa 3 times and I'll spare your life. Otherwise. He smiled maliciously and looked at Qin Bo with disdain as if he was looking at an ant that he could easily crush. Shut up. Jiang Tian snorted. His face was still indifferent, but Qiu Gong had already stepped forward. Flap, flap. The crowd didn't even see how Qiu Gong attacked. They only heard a few crisp sounds as the young masters holding on to Jiang Lin were sent flying by him. Humph! How dare you disrespect my master? Do you want to die? Yuan Qiuqiu was servile to Jiang Tian, but he was still a master at the peak of internal force and a general under Yi Gufeng's command, so he naturally had a strict temperament. He did not care about a few young masters from the secular world. After beating them up, he linked his hands behind his back and looked at the group of young masters arrogantly. I'll kill you if you don't get out of my sight. Everyone was shocked as they didn't expect the old man to be so powerful. Even Qin Bo's face changed. The Jiang family had sent an elite to protect Jiang Tian? What was going on? As the host, young Master Jiang felt that he had lost face. He jumped 3 feet high and flew into a rage. Old man, you're crazy. How dare you hit my friend? Just you wait, I'll call the police and they'll shoot you. He immediately took out his phone and dialed a number. Don't leave if you dare. A few young masters got up and surrounded Jiang Tian. Both sides were in a stalemate. Master, do you want me to call my grandpa and ask for help? Tang Lingling was a little worried. If the police came, they would have to interrogate and mediate. Although it wouldn't threaten Jiang Tian, it would be troublesome. No need. Let's see how long they can be arrogant. Jiang Tian was indifferent and aloof. His expression was like an audience sitting in the corner of a theater. Right at this moment, a chilly voice sounded out and berated. "Qinbo, what are you doing? How dare you?" Everyone turned their heads to look and saw a beautiful woman about 30 years old slowly walking over. She was wearing an aqua-green cheongsam with embroidered shoes on her feet. Her wrist was wrapped with several circles of red sandalwood antique Buddhist beads. Her features were picturesque, and her temperament was ethereal and otherworldly. However, her waist was slender and her full chest rose and fell. Her figure was extremely charming and there was a kind of seductive feeling to it. It was impossible to tell her age. She had the lazy charm of a 30-year-old woman but also the vitality and innocence of a 28-year-old girl. Her charm was extraordinary. "Sister Mange, you're here already?" When he saw this woman, Qinbo's face instantly trembled, and a deep expression of fear appeared on his face. He smiled obsequiously and bowed with cupped fists. "If I didn't arrive so quickly, I wouldn't know that you're just an outer disciple." The woman, who was called Senior Marshal Sister Mangu, walked over with a disdainful snort. "Miss Mange, this is all a misunderstanding. I'm just joking." Young Master Jiang was even more embarrassed. He nodded his head and bowed like a loyal dog meeting its owner. Flap. Without another word, Lady Mangu raised her hand and slapped young Master Jiang's face, causing him to stagger backward. But young Master Jiang didn't dare to act rashly. He covered his face and stood there awkwardly. "If you continue to mess around, I'll tell your father to punish you." Miss Mange's tone was calm but the coldness in her eyes made young Master Jiang break out in cold sweat. He kept apologizing. "So she's the top disciple of Shinong School, Miss Mange." At this moment, Jiang Lin seemed to have thought of something and was shocked. She then looked at Miss Mange with admiration as if she was a fangirl meeting her idol. "Master Chiu, I'm sorry. It's all our fault for not organizing properly and causing a misunderstanding." Lady Mangu smiled and came before Yuan Qiuqiu. She cupped her fists and smiled. "It's okay. Since you're Miss Mange's friend, everything is negotiable." Seeing that Jiang Tian didn't want to pursue the matter, Yuan Qiuqiu returned the gesture. "Is Master Feng from Donghai not coming this time?" Miss Mange looked around and asked with a smile. "Oh, he's busy with work and asked me to accompany this young man." Yuan Qiuqiu pointed at Jiang Tian. "May I know this young master's name?" Lady Mangu bowed and looked at Jiang Tian from head to toe before asking with a sweet smile. "I'm Jiang Tian from the Jiang family of Jinling City." Jiang Tian put down his teacup and said casually, "Oh, I see. Welcome to the elixir exchange. If you have any trouble, just tell me my name." Seeing that Jiang Tian looked ordinary and didn't seem like a big buyer, Lady Manji's eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment. She bowed and turned to leave. I'll let you go this time for Senior Mange's sake." Qinbo shot a cold glance at Jiang Tian, then led the others out as well. Qinbo walked out of the door and quickly caught up with Miss Mange. "Senior Mange, why do you have to give face to the Jiang family? They can't take it anymore. That Jiang Tian is a piece of trash." "Do you know who Master Chiu is?" Miss Mange sat in a Mercedes-Benz and said coldly. "Who? He seems to have some background." Qinbo started the car and looked confused. "So he is the Yuan family's chief consecrator, an internal strength expert. Although the Yuan family was destroyed more than 10 years ago, he is not someone you trash can afford to offend." Lady Mange sneered. "So what if he's an internal force expert? Our Shinong School's internal force cultivation is at least 80 if not 100. Qinbo said flippantly. "You're just an outer disciple. How dare you call yourself a disciple of the Shinong School?" Miss Mange frowned and said with disgust and disdain, "He's a guest. No matter what, he's here with a ticket. If he gets into trouble on the Shinong School's territory and you guys bully him, wouldn't you be a joke? Senior sister, I'm sorry." Qinbo was scared out of his wits and suddenly said with shame, "If you dare to do it again, I'll kill you." Miss Mange leaned against the table and closed her eyes to rest. Her tone was light but her eyes were full of murderous intent. Chapter 94. In the restaurant of the hotel. After they left, Jiang Lin walked to Jiang Tian and said gratefully, "Jiang Tian, thank you for helping me, don't worry about it." Jiang Tian waved his hand. He didn't take it to heart at all. They were just a few bastards. So what if he killed them? Anyway, you can't be so impulsive next time. Qinbo is so powerful. You're no match for him. Seeing Jiang Tian's arrogant face, Jiang Lin was inexplicably angry. She put on a bossy attitude and scolded, "You're lucky that you met Ms. Mange. Otherwise you would have been beaten to death. My master saved you. How can you say that about him?" Tang Linglong couldn't stand it anymore. "I'm telling the truth." Jiang Lin glared at Tang Linglong. This girl was so beautiful, but unfortunately she was a fool. She was fooled by Jiang Tian and even called him master. Jiang Tian doesn't know shit. He has been bullied by Qinbo countless times in Jinling. Her face was filled with disdain as she said, "Jinling is thousands of miles away now. Something really happens, how can the family help Jiang Tian? If Jiang Tian would be trampled to death like an ant. He wouldn't even be able to let out a cry." "Jiang Lin, maybe in your eyes Qinbo is so powerful that he can't be offended. You can only let him bully you." Jiang Tian sipped his tea with a leisurely and indifferent expression, and his tone was flat. "But in my eyes he's only an ant, a speck of dust, and he's not even worth a fart. If I want to crush him I can do it with one finger." "You?" Jiang Lin was stunned. Then she looked at Jiang Tian as if he was an idiot and said angrily, "Jiang Tian, you've learned how to brag now. You don't even care about Qinbo. You're not even comparable to his finger. You're so arrogant and impulsive. You don't fit in with the rules of society. You're the bane of the Jiang family. You can only drag the Jiang family into the abyss. Just like how you offended that big family in Yanjing a few years ago." Then he got up and left. "Jiang Lin!" Jiang Tian shouted. "What are you waiting for? You don't even call me cousin anymore. You've really grown up." Jiang Lin stopped in her tracks and said coldly without even turning her head, "I don't blame you for looking down on me." Jiang Tian said calmly, "I know that you want to revitalize your family. No matter what our relationship was before, I admire and respect you for this. If you run into any trouble here, just look for me. I will definitely protect you." When Jiang Lin heard this, she couldn't help but laugh. Her eyes were filled with disdain as she said, "Oh, my little Tianan has really grown up. You can even protect your cousin. But forget it. You better stay away from me. I'm still worried that you'll provoke others and get me killed. Just take care of yourself and don't get killed." After saying that, she left in a huff. Tang Linglong was so angry that her face turned red. She gritted her teeth and said, "What a stupid woman. Master, why do you even care about her? She's family after all." Jiang Tian shook his head with a wry smile. He then turned around and asked, "Master Qiu, what's the background of that lady called Mange?" Reporting to the great master, "This woman's name is Shin Mange. She's the descendant of the Shin family in Yanjing. She's now the first disciple of Shinong School. The current leader of Shinong Schools was Zimu, is her mentor." Master Qiu quickly bowed and said, "I heard that this lady is very good at dealing with people and business. She's very good at business and business. She's deeply trusted and doted on by the leader. That's why she's in charge of Shinong School's business. She's also in charge of this year's elixir exchange." "I see." Jiang Tian nodded and wiped his mouth with a tissue. "Master Kong, there's a small elixir and dharma artifact exchange at 100 Herb Manor in the city tonight. Why don't we go and take a look?" Master Qiu suddenly suggested. "A small elixir exchange?" Jiang Tian was a little confused. "That's right. This elixir exchange is open to martial artists and wealthy businessmen." Master Qiu said, "Actually, tomorrow's elixir exchange is the official event. You can't enter by buying a ticket. You can only enter by receiving an invitation from Shinong School." He sighed and said, "Even with Master Feng's influence in Donghai, he can only get a ticket to a small elixir exchange. All right, let's go and take a look." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Tang Linglong drove the car and arrived at a manor in the suburbs in a short while. The 100 Herb Manor was built against the mountain under the cover of a dense forest. It was very simple and unadorned. The walls were made of yellow mud and covered with rice stalks. Outside there were mulberry, elm, hibiscus, bristle and all kinds of young branches. Following the twists and turns, there were 2 rows of green fences. Outside the fences, there was a well at the bottom of the hill. Beside it there were ancient objects like oranges and winches. In the courtyard there were herbs everywhere. In the manor, There were a few apricot and peach blossoms that looked like they were spitting fire. Under the shade there was a thatched cottage. Ginseng, Dahurian angelica, roseroot, gastrodia tuber, solanum nightshade, and so on. There were so many that one couldn't see the end of it. The fragrance of the herbs was refreshing. This Xianxia school is quite unique. It's quite antique. Tang Linglong was amazed. She smiled and said, compared to this, my third uncle's manor is quite tacky. This Xianxia school is quite impressive. However, when Jiang Tian scanned the courtyard with his divine sense, he found that there were at least a dozen iron body internal strength experts guarding the courtyard. There wasn't a single internal strength expert in Linzhou. In Donghai there was only one internal strength expert. In the entire Lingnan there were only a few internal strength experts. However, this manor of the Xianxia school had so many experts. It was obvious that they were quite powerful. After showing their tickets, Jiang Tian and the others were immediately let in. Usher led them to a courtyard. Looking at the scenery around them, there were paper windows, wooden beds, stone tables, and rockery. The atmosphere of wealth was washed away. It was simple and unadorned, but it was wonderful. At this moment, there were dozens of rich people and martial artists from all over the world sitting in the spacious courtyard. These martial artists were all wearing modern clothes. Some of them were in suits and leather shoes. They were all branded like nouveau riche. Some of them were fashionable, wearing ear studs and nose rings. They were in the style of rock and roll or hippie. There were all kinds of styles. Jiang Tian secretly shook his head. Some of them were chatting with each other. Some of them were quietly setting up stalls to sell herbs and dharma artifacts. Martial artists nowadays are not as fickle as they used to be. The ancient style is gone. Seeing this, Qiu Gong shook his head and sighed. Hey, isn't this the great ape fist expert Qiu Gong Yuan Qiu? I haven't seen you in a while. Someone recognized Qiu Gong and greeted him warmly. Who is this guy behind you? Is he your disciple? Qiu Gong was startled and scolded. Shut your mouth, Bull Demon King. This is young Lord Jiang from Linzhou. He is an expert. On the way here, Jiang Tian had reminded him not to reveal his true strength and to keep a low profile. However, the scene of Jiang Tian condensing his qi into a fist on the blue whale gambling ship and killing Li Feihu with a single punch had already been deeply imprinted in his soul, causing him to think highly of Jiang Tian. Qiu Gong realized this and didn't introduce him in detail. He pointed at the Bull Demon King and said, Miao Bowen, an expert in Qiguan fist. He has also achieved initial success in his internal force cultivation. Jiang Tian nodded at him. This Miao Bowen was tall and powerful. He was wearing a black leather waistcoat revealing his black chest hair. He looked very bold and powerful, but there was a nose ring on his nostrils which made him look a bit funny. You are from Linzhou? Miao Bowen rose from his seat and smiled. Not many martial artists from Linzhou come here. I heard that there is a Master Kong in Linzhou who claimed to have reached the Grandmaster level. I wonder if it is true. Hee Bull Demon King, don't listen to those people from Jiangbei. They say that Kong Teichu is only 25 years old, but he has already reached the Grandmaster level. What a joke. A young martial artist in an Armani suit shook his head and said with disdain, That's true. I bet they are just bluffing. Those people from Linzhou are exaggerating. Tang Guizhu is a talented martial artist, but he has never reached the internal force level. Even the most powerful martial artist in Foshan Mountain, Li Jinwei, has only reached the internal force level. No wonder they are spreading lies. Everyone at the scene nodded in agreement. Martial artists like them had been practicing hard since they were young. However, they had only reached the iron body state and the strongest among them had only reached the internal force level. It was unbelievable that a young man in his early 20s claimed to have reached the transcendent state. What do you know? Tang Linglong was not convinced and wanted to defend herself. However, Jiang Tian waved his hand and signaled her to keep quiet. Zhang Yanghao, the imperial physician of Yanjin, and Ms. Mange, the top student of Xianxia School, have arrived. At this moment there was a sudden announcement at the door. Everyone no longer paid attention to Jiang Tian and the others and swarmed forward. To put it bluntly, most of them were buyers, while the real sellers were almost concentrated in the Zhang family and the Xianxia sect. Zhang Yanghao was in his 80s. His white beard reached his chest. He was wearing a white tang suit and a pair of old cloth shoes. He was playing with an antique enamel snuff bottle in his hand. He looked like a medical expert. There were a few disciples behind him, including Ms. Mange, whom Jiang Tian had met at the hotel. Zhang Yanghao, the former imperial physician who treated the leaders of the country. Impressive. I heard that he is an all-rounder in acupuncture, medicine, massage, and many other aspects. That's nothing. He uses his qi to perform acupuncture and treats injuries. Even if a martial artist is seriously injured or sick, he can treat them. Everyone was talking about him with admiration in their eyes. Thank you, my dear friends and family, for coming all the way here to participate in the elixir pills and artifacts exchange. Zhang Yanghao had already walked over while they were talking. He cupped his fists and said with a smile, "It's worth it even if we have to break our legs to meet miracle Dr. Zhang Yanghao." Everyone flattered him and worshipped him as if he was a god. "Sai, what kind of miracle doctor am I? I'm just a lackey of sect leader Swa." Zhang Yanghao said politely, but there was a hint of pride in his eyes. "I've begged sect leaders for 20 years and finally joined Shenong school. I'm now an outer elder. Congratulations, Miracle Dr. Zhang. Congratulations, Miracle Dr. Zhang. After 20 years you finally got what you wanted. Now that Miracle Dr. Zhang is an outer elder, your medical skills must be even more profound." Once again the crowd began to flatter him. Chapter 95. If anyone needs anything, feel free to tell me. We can start other transactions now. Zhang Yanghao sat on the stone bench and chuckled as if it was a great honor to be the lackey of sect leader Swa. "Divine Dr. Zhang, I have an ancient recipe for black jade rejuvenation ointment. I wonder if the Shenong school can help me make it? I am willing to exchange it with the recipe." "Madam Mange, my senior brother is suffering from qi deviation. I would like to ask for your qi smoothing pill. The price is negotiable." "Divine Dr. Zhang, my son's constitution is too weak. Do you have the leopard fetus channel easing pill?" Suddenly, the crowd swarmed forward and surrounded the two of them. They begged and begged. Some of them used cultivation techniques and ancient books to exchange. Some used pill recipes and old herbs, and some even took out checks. The other martial artists and rich businessmen also started to move. Some of them set up stalls to sell so-called Dharma artifacts, divine weapons, and even exchanged cultivation techniques. Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and found that the so-called Dharma artifacts and divine weapons were thousands of miles away from the ones he made. Needless to say, those cultivation techniques were extremely crude. He was bored, so he borrowed a pen and paper and set up a stall. He pulled up a banner: body-tempering cultivation techniques, essence pills, talismans, but must be exchanged with spirit herbs or wood or earth element array materials. When the crowd saw it, they were all dumbfounded and could not believe it. "Isn't this kid too amazing? He knows martial arts, spiritual spells, talismans, alchemy, and array formations. Maybe he's buying it for his sect or his family elders." The crowd could not believe it. They pointed and talked among themselves. Jiang Tian's small banner contained a lot of information. It showed that Jiang Tian was proficient in medicine, alchemy, array formations, and martial arts. These were the treasures of the Wuxia civilization and were extremely profound. Ordinary people could dominate a region and look down on the heroes if they were proficient in one, let alone being proficient in these skills. "Young master, do you have essence pills?" Niu Bowen came over and cupped his fists respectfully. "Yes." Jiang Tian nodded. "Can you let me take a look?" Niu Bowen was immediately delighted and asked humbly. Jiang Tian poured one out of the porcelain bottle and handed it to Niu Bowen. "It looks pretty good and has a nice fragrance. I wonder if it's real or fake." Niu Bowen couldn't make up his mind. He smiled and asked, "Excuse me, young master, where did you get this pill?" "Of course, I made it myself." Jiang Tian sat on the stone bench with his legs crossed, his face calm and composed. "You refined it yourself? You're proficient in alchemy?" Niu Bowen cried out in surprise as if his chrysanthemum had been pierced. "Isn't this too godly? To be able to refine medicinal pills at such a young age. You really made it yourself. Let me take a look." This shout attracted everyone's attention. More rich people and martial artists swarmed up and surrounded Jiang Tian. Their faces were full of shock and reverence, and they asked this and that. "Humph, Jiang Tian, you're an ignorant and incompetent trash. How can you refine medicinal pills? Who are you kidding? At this moment a cold sneer sounded. Qin Bo strode over with a sneer on his face. Young Master Qin is here. Everyone knew that he was an outer disciple of Shinong School, so they didn't dare to neglect him. They respectfully stepped back and made a path for him. Qin Bo came closer and stood still. He looked down at Zhang Tian and said disdainfully, Mr. Niu, don't believe him. He's just a disciple of a medical family in the secular world. He's such an idiot that he can't even write an ordinary prescription, let alone refine medicinal pills. He glanced at those medicinal pills, sneered and shook his head. These are fake. They look good and have a nice fragrance. They must have added flavor and pigment. Don't talk about cultivating essence qi. They're more like rat medicine. Well, Niu Bowen didn't know who to believe. You're just an outer disciple. What do you know? How dare you criticize my medicinal pills? Zhang Tian looked at Qin Bo, who was making trouble, and said with a sneer, of course this is a real elixir and it's a top-grade elixir. Compared with mine, the elixir of your Shinong sect is just trash. You're too arrogant. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Shinong School is the best in the alchemy school in the world. Who can compare with it? As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone couldn't believe it and looked at Zhang Tian as if they were looking at a fool. Shinong School was a big sect in the alchemy school. It ranked the top 3 in the world in terms of refining medicinal pills, but Zhang Tian said that the medicinal pills of Shinong School were trash. This was simply boasting and extremely arrogant. Qin Bo was so angry that his whole body trembled. He sneered and said, you're just an idiot. How dare you boast in front of me? Do you want to die? Who do you think you are? Zhang Tian said disdainfully, you're just an outer disciple. Even if Leader Zhou was here, I would still dare to say that. Qin Bo was so angry that the muscles on his face twitched violently. He roared loudly, left and right, beat this guy to death and throw him out. How dare he make fake prices in the territory of our Shinong clan and behave atrociously. In his mind, Leader Zhou was proficient in medical skills and was like an immortal. However, he was humiliated by Zhang Tian, a good-for-nothing. How could he bear it? Yes, senior brother Qin. Several handyman disciples looked serious and immediately approached Zhang Tian. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. They thought that this reckless guy was going to be in trouble. Qin Bo, don't be rash. Suddenly, a majestic voice came. Zhang Yonghao and Ms. Mange came over together. Everyone retreated one after another, consciously opening up a path for him. Elder, senior sister, this guy is talking nonsense. Qin Bo's face turned serious. He cupped his fist and bowed. Then he complained about Zhang Tian's evil deeds. Shut up. Zhang Yonghao didn't listen and waved his hand to stop him. Then he cupped his fist and said to Zhang Tian, may I have a look at the pill that this young man refined? I heard that this guy is Zhang Yonghao's disciple. Zhang Tian looked at Qin Jisher, who was behind Zhang Yonghao, and nodded slightly. Disciple Qin Jisher greets the great miracle Dr. Jiang. Qin Jisher bowed deeply and looked very humble. Please have a look. Zhang Tian didn't want to talk nonsense and handed over a pill. Zhang Yonghao revealed a scrutinizing look as he took the pill. His beloved disciple Qin Jisher said that this guy was proficient in medical skills and had cured Mr. Tang. So he came to take a look. But in fact he was very dissatisfied with Zhang Tian's nonsense. Oh my God. But the moment Zhang Yonghao took the pill, his body trembled as if he was struck by lightning. He was stunned and petrified on the spot. What's wrong? Everyone was confused. This is a 9-aperture spiritual pill. Can be said to be a top-grade pill. Zhang Yonghao was so excited that he couldn't control himself. He couldn't stop trembling and said in a trembling voice, looking at the shape, it has 9 apertures. Look at the color, the essence is restrained and the spiritual energy is dense. Smell it, it refreshes the heart and refreshes the mind, and the fragrance will last for 3 days. Top grade. It's even a top-grade pill. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in an uproar. Everyone was in an uproar. Essence pill could cultivate the essence of blood, let the iron body condense inner strength, and let an external expert cultivate inner strength. It was originally a heaven-defying pill. But it was very rare. Even a low-grade pill was priceless and hard to find. And now what Zhang Tian took out was actually a high-grade essence pill. Wouldn't people fight over it? Little brother, how much are you selling this pill? Everyone's eyes were burning. Like money grubbers who saw a treasure, they rushed to Jiang Tian. Elder, you didn't see it wrong, did you? This brat is just a good-for-nothing idiot. Qin Bo didn't give up and said anxiously, how can he refine a top-grade essence pill? How can I see it wrong? You can't even refine a pill. What do you know? Zhang Yanghao frowned and glared at him, looking unhappy. Get out. Slap. Madame Mange raised her hand and slapped Qin Bo. Her beautiful face was cold as she scolded angrily. You disgrace, you don't know the face of an expert. If you dare to disrespect Mr. Jiang again, I'll kill you. Eldest senior sister. Qin Bo felt wronged, but when he met Madame Mange's cold eyes, he didn't dare to talk nonsense and left embarrassedly. Little brother, how much is this pill? I'll pay 1 million, give me one. Are you crazy? You want to buy a top-grade essence pill with 1 million? That's the price of a low-grade pill, okay? Young master, no matter how much it costs, I'll buy it all. Just name your price. After Jiang Tian's medicinal pills were approved by Zhang Yanghao, everyone present no longer had any doubts. They surrounded Jiang Tian so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. They waved their checks and bank cards, pushing and shoving each other, as if they were afraid that if they fell behind by even half a minute, they would all be snatched away. For martial artists, the essence pill was too important. It was the key to breaking the shackles between iron body and inner strength. It could be said that it was a miracle pill that could change their fate. Its value was immeasurable. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian didn't even look at the checks and said indifferently, everyone, I'm sorry. I said that I don't want money. I only want spirit grass, spirit medicine and 5 elements array materials. Array materials? Spirit grass and spirit medicine are too rare. Who can have them? Everyone was disheartened. These things were extremely rare and even normal martial artists couldn't get their hands on them. A young man in a white Armani suit said slowly, Young man, I will give you the swallow water art in exchange for 10 pills. What do you think? This is Tang Qianbian, the 3rd lord of the Tang sect in Shu province. The Tang sect's lightness art is the best in the world. Someone revealed the origin of this young man. Young Lord Tang. The swallow water art is one of the most powerful lightness art of the Tang sect, I wonder. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in shock. The Tang sect in Shu province was known for its powerful lightness art. They could walk on water, leap over walls and fly into the sky. Legend had it that the top assassin in the Republic of China, Wang Yaqiao, was a disciple of the Tang sect. He had founded the Axe Gang and assassinated many politicians. Even Huang Jinrong and Du Yuexing were afraid of him. In the end, it was Boss Dai who used a dozen gunmen to set up a trap. Wang Chongyan, the leader of the Blue Cloth Society, was also the most powerful overlord in Zhonghai at the time. I don't lack cultivation techniques. Jiang Tian's face was calm as he shook his head without hesitation. This young man is so powerful that he doesn't even care about the Tang sect's art. Tang Qianbian's face changed slightly. In the end, he shook his head in disappointment and said sourly. Meanwhile, Ms. Mange's interest was piqued. She pointed at the pills on Jiang Tian's stall and asked, Young Lord Jiang, what kind of pills are these? Can I have a look? Chapter 96. Take a look. Jiang Tian handed her the pills and introduced them calmly. This is a small recovery pill. It can treat poisons and internal and external injuries. It can strengthen the body and cure all diseases. This is a rising dragon meridian changing pill. It can transform the bone structure, strengthen the bones and meridians, and make the ordinary person have the potential to become a martial artist. This is a vitality enhancing pill. It can nourish the breath and help an iron body martial artist to advance to the inner force stage. This is a bottle of fire spirit pill. It can treat cold poison and ice. It can even cure Lou Gehrig's disease. Jiang Tian spoke tirelessly as if he was familiar with his family's treasures. His face was calm and emotionless. What? The vitality enhancing pill is so powerful. Small recovery pill, fire spirit pill, rising dragon meridian changing pill. These pills are too powerful. However, everyone turned pale with fright as they cried out in surprise. The way they looked at Jiang Tian was filled with passion. Madame Mange looked at the pills and exclaimed with admiration, Mr. Jiang is really a master. These pills are pure and abundant. Almost all of them are top-grade pills and there is no lack of top-grade pills. Hearing that, everyone's eyes burned even more. At this time Zhang Yonghao pondered for a moment and suddenly said, Master Kong, can you sell these pill recipes to us? What do you mean? Jiang Tian asked. Red Wall Imperial Medical Hall can do it and so can Shinong School. I think they can all afford this price. Zhang Yonghao said reservedly. This guy is going to strike it rich. Once these words were spoken, everyone nodded one after another, looking at Jiang Tian with envy. Red Wall Imperial Medical Hall was backed by the central government. How much money could they not afford? Shinong School's secular industry was huge. Its assets were not in the hundreds of billions but tens of billions. Naturally it was not a problem. Unexpectedly Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed, It's useless to give you the pill recipes. You can't refine them. These pills were all nourished by Jiang Tian's true essence. They could not be refined with only a charcoal furnace. Madame Mange's expression turned strange, her beautiful eyes narrowing as she asked, Could it be that Senior Jiang is an alchemist? As soon as he said this, everyone looked at Jiang Tian with even more shock as if they were looking at a god. Alchemy was the most popular occupation in the cultivation world. Even a transcendent grandmaster couldn't compete with it. Any sect or family, as long as they had an alchemist, would be able to provide them with an endless supply of pills. What kind of expert could they not cultivate? That is, there are a lot of talents and the wind is blowing and the water is rising. However, the study of alchemy was profound and subtle, and it was extremely particular about talent and comprehension. Therefore, alchemists were far rarer than cultivators. As the saying goes, martial arts masters are easy to find, but alchemists are hard to find. That's right. Jiang Tian nodded calmly. What did an alchemist count for? His alchemy skills had shocked the universe and he had hundreds of elixir ancestors, elixir venerables and elixir saints. Zhang Yonghao secretly clicked his tongue and said, Senior Jiang, if you are interested, why don't you join the Shinong School? I will do my best to recommend you to sect leader Zhou. Not to mention the vice sect leader, you can at least be a hall master or an inner sect elder. Yes, if Senior Jiang becomes sect leader Zhu's disciple, I am willing to give up the position of head disciple. Madame Mange also agreed. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with an envious expression, their expressions excited. The famous Shinong School had extended an olive branch to Jiang Tian. And once he joined he would be an elder or a head disciple. That would be second only to one person. Damn, my grandpa gave sect leaders with 10 million in benefits so I could become a servant disciple. But Jiang Tian is going to become an inner sect elder. How can this be compared? In the distance Qin Bo was so shocked that his face turned pale. He was envious and jealous as if he had eaten a fly. No, I can't let him have his way. Otherwise won't he kill me? Qin Bo was afraid, angry and scared. His face was livid and his fists were clenched so tightly that they made cracking sounds. He roared crazily in his heart. Thank you for your kindness, Elder Zhang. Unexpectedly, a trace of indistinct disdain appeared on Jiang Tian's face, yet he said very politely, It's just that I've always been a lazy person, and I really can't stand the restraint of the sect's rules. He refused. This is an invitation from the Shinong School. Everyone couldn't believe it and was petrified. I heard that Senior Jiang is here and he is proficient in refining medicine. I am here to pay you a visit. At this moment, a hearty laugh suddenly came in, and a tall man in training clothes walked in with a majestic gait. The man was about 50 years old. He was tall and strong and his aura was strong. He had a square face with whiskers and a pair of tiger-like eyes were shining. He had an extraordinary temperament and he was bold and unrestrained. Patriarch Hong. Patriarch Hong is here. Greetings, Patriarch Hong. The martial artists and rich people present were all in awe. They parted like the tide and made way for him. They bowed respectfully and cupped their fists. I didn't know that Patriarch Hong was here. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Even Ms. Mange and Zhang Yonghao didn't dare to be negligent. They treated him with respect and humility. The Hong family was the largest martial arts family in Yi province, and they had been passed down for hundreds of years. As the leader of the Hong family, Hong Tianzhao was already at the transcendent stage. He was one of the top 20 grandmasters in Wuxia, and he was famous for his fighting prowess. What's more, he was generous and forthright, eager for justice and good karma. He had many friends in the martial arts world and had high prestige. In the martial arts world of Wuxia, only the few veteran grandmasters like Hu Qingtian of the Central Plains, Wu Yingxiong of the Southwest, and Wood Camel Peak of the Northwest could suppress him. In Yi Province, if the Xinnong sect was a living immortal above the sea of clouds on the mountain peak, Hong Tianzhao was a ferocious dragon that could control the wind and rain and stir up trouble in the province. It's okay. We are people of the martial arts world. We don't need to care about these details. Hong Tianzhao laughed heartily. He cupped his fists and then asked curiously, where is that great alchemist Jiang? Bring me to him. Under the guidance of the crowd, Hong Tianzhao walked quickly to Jiang Tian. Oh, look at my stinky mouth. That old man makes great alchemist Jiang sound old. The moment he saw Jiang Tian, he suddenly slapped his mouth and laughed. He's obviously a young man. He's quite handsome too. That he's so cool and handsome. Hong Tianzhao's humorous words made the people present burst into laughter. Next to him, Qiu Gong had already introduced this person to Jiang Tian. In terms of worldly businesses, Yi Gufeng was far inferior to Hong Tianzhao, a tycoon who dominated the entire province. He was like a speck of dust. In terms of martial arts, Li Jinwei and the others who were ranked at the top of Lingnan could not be compared. Hong Tianzhao was not only a transcendent grandmaster, but also a powerful person. He had friends all over the world in politics, business and martial arts. He was the king of Yi Province. Hearing this, Jiang Tian's face was calm. He cupped his fists and said, I am Jiang Tian of Jinlin City. Nice to meet you, Mr. Hong. Mr. Jiang, I see that Qiu Gong is with you. You must be a martial artist. Hong Tianzhao looked deeply into Jiang Tian's eyes and said, if you are interested, join the Hong family. I will make you the first guest elder. You and I will call each other brothers. We will sit around the stove and talk through the night. We will learn from each other and discuss martial arts together. Wouldn't that be great? As soon as he said that, everyone was excited. The Hong family was so powerful and had 100 years of history. They wanted to rope this young man in as their guest elder. Even Hong Tianzhao wanted to call him brother and study martial arts with him. What kind of honor was that? Then Hong Tianzhao threw out another bomb. Also, I will give you 3% of the Hong family's shares. You only have to do it once a year. It won't affect your study of martial arts or alchemy. Everyone was stunned by Hong Tianzhao's combination of punches. In order to rope Jiang Tian in, he offered such generous terms. The Hong family's assets were in the tens of billions. The sum was almost $1 billion. At this time, even Zhang Yanghao and Madame Mange gave in. Xinnong School's strength was not inferior to the Hong family's. However, they could not be as generous as the Hong family. Moreover, they were not the sect leaders. They could not make a decision on such a big matter. What do you think, Mr. Jiang? Hong Tianzhao was full of confidence after he said that. The Hong family's martial arts heritage had been passed down for hundreds of years. He was also a martial arts grandmaster. The protection that he could give Jiang Tian was not something that could be exchanged with $1 billion. Don't forget that alchemists were not strong in martial arts. If they did not have a backer, they would be at the mercy of others. Therefore, 8 out of 10 alchemists relied on martial arts sects or clans. However, Jiang Tian shook his head calmly and said, Grandmaster Hong, I'm sorry. I only want materials of the 5 elements or spiritual herbs and spiritual medicines. I won't agree to any other conditions. The crowd was dumbfounded. Jiang Tian was too arrogant. He did not even care about the Imperial Physician Hall Xinnong School, and especially the Hong family's invitation. This was the Hong family of Hubei province. Oh, you're rejecting me so easily? Although Hong Tianzhao still had a smile on his face, an undetectable murderous intent flashed across his eyes. This brat, I gave you such a generous offer, yet you rejected it. Could it be that you want to die? Seeing this, Qiu Gong's expression changed slightly. He was shocked. His whole body tensed up. However, Hong Tianzhao quickly restrained his murderous intent and laughed heartily. Mr. Zhang's aura is really inclusive of the world. You're really an expert. He clasped his fists and said seriously, all right. Since Grandmaster Zhang does not want to agree, I will not force you. However, I'll say this. The door of the Hong family is always open to Mr. Jiang. We welcome you to join us at any time. Mr. Jiang, you've missed your chance. Even Zhang Yanghao and Madame Mange looked regretful. They shook their heads and sighed. After that, no one came to inquire about the price. After all, they knew that Jiang Tian's conditions were impossible to make a deal with. Jiang Tian walked around and did not find anything. Then he left the 100 Herb Manor with Tang Linglong and Qiu Gong and returned to the Medicine Metropolis Hotel. When they left, Jiang Tian looked at Qin Bo, who was waiting at the door, and said mockingly, "Young Master Qin, you're quite impressive as a doorman." Hearing this, Qin Bo was so angry that his face turned pale. He clenched his fists so tightly that they cracked. His whole body was trembling. Chapter 97. It's none of your business. It's none of your business. In the secular world, he was the young master of heaven who was awe-inspiring and domineering. But when he came to the Shinong sect, he could only be a handyman disciple, and this was what his family begged him for. On the other hand, Jiang Tian was treated with great respect by both the Shinong school and the Hong family. The difference was too big. It's none of my business. But thanks for your hard work. I'll give you a top-grade pill. Jiang Tian chuckled. With a wave of his sleeve, a pill rolled to his feet. Jiang Tian, what are you so proud of? Who wants your pill? You think you're so great just because you have some alchemy skills? Qin Bo was furious. Throw it away if you don't want it. But Jiang Tian didn't care about him. He put his hands behind his back and walked out of the door leisurely. Fuck, it's a waste if I don't take it. After Jiang Tian left, Qin Bo couldn't resist the temptation. He picked up the pill as if it was a treasure and swallowed it without even wiping off the dust on it. Blurg. A foul smell filled his mouth. Qin Bo held his stomach and couldn't stop retching. He felt something was wrong and shouted, Jiang Tian, what kind of pill is this? Sinks. Oh, that's sheep poop. You're a dog, you're only fit to eat this. Jiang Tian laughed and walked away. Jiang Tian, don't be so arrogant. I'll never let you go. Blurg, blurg, blurg. Qin Bo was about to go crazy. He kept spitting and gritting his teeth. Master Kong, I'm afraid things are not going well. On the way, Qiu Gong thought for a while and said with difficulty, Why? Jiang Tian and Zhou Xueqing were flirting with each other through instant messaging. That Hong Tianzhao is not a kind person. As the saying goes, a gentleman is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring gets him into trouble. I'm afraid that he's already coveting your medicinal pills, Master Kong. Qiu Gong said with a grave expression. So what? Jiang Tian said calmly as he looked at the lights outside the window. What I mean is, let's not go to tomorrow's large-scale pill exchange. Lord Qiu weighed his words carefully and then said respectfully, Hong Tianzhao is a transcendent grandmaster. Although he appears to be straightforward, he is actually a cunning and ruthless man. I'm afraid tomorrow will be a Hongmen banquet with hidden murderous intent. You're just a little master. Do you think you're worthy of me avoiding you? You think too highly of him. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. Jiang Tian was so young, yet he was able to say such bold words. Duke Qiu was dumbfounded, filled with shock and admiration. After considering it over and over again, he changed the way he spoke. Of course I believe in Grandmaster Zhang's cultivation, but I'm afraid that he'll use some kind of crafty scheme against Grandmaster Jiang. There's no harm in avoiding the edge. Duke Qiu, you have to understand that in the face of absolute power, all kinds of dirty tricks are useless. Jiang Tian sipped his tea leisurely and said lightly, no matter what tricks he has up his sleeves, I, Jiang Tian, can crush them with one punch. Autumn Doll thought about it for a while and then he cupped his fists and said respectfully, Grandmaster Zhang's words make sense. This junior has learned a lot today. Thank you, Master Kong, for your advice. Back at the hotel, Jiang Tian bumped into Jiang Lin, who was running out of the hotel in a hurry. Where are you going, Jiang Lin? So late. Jiang Tian frowned and mumbled. Jiang Lin had always been steady and generous. She had always treated people well. It was rare to see her in such a hurry and in such a mess. Oh no. I made a mistake with the ticket. Jiang Lin ignored Jiang Tian completely. She was drowning in despair and frustration. Her eyes were red and she kept stomping her feet. I thought the ticket I bought for 1 million was for tomorrow's large-scale medicinal pill exchange. I just figured it out that it's for tonight. I spent 1 million for nothing. I didn't get any prescriptions. Grandpa will definitely blame me. He was about to cry. It's already 11. It's time to end it. It's no use even if you go. Zhang Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Go back to sleep. If you want to attend tomorrow's exchange, I'll take you there. Jiang Lin's gaze fell on Zhang Tian. She said mockingly, Zhang Tian, you're so arrogant. You're taking me to tomorrow's exchange. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Only those high and mighty martial artists can participate in tomorrow's exchange. Who do you think you are? You're just a useless piece of trash. Be careful not to get your legs broken. She snorted disdainfully. She wiped her tears and walked back to her room angrily in her high heels. What the fuck? What the fuck? Tang Linglong was so angry that her face turned green. She cursed. I want to beat this little girl to death. My Sifu is Master Kong. He's the most powerful man in Jiangbei. Even my grandpa has to be courteous to him. Forget it. Zhang Tian patted the little girl's head and smiled gently. She's my cousin after all. Tang Linglong followed Zhang Tian upstairs with a muffled voice. He was silent all the way. Suddenly she said emotionally, Sifu, you're such a good person. Huh? I'm a good person? Zhang Tian was stunned for a moment. Then he burst into laughter. He proved his Tao by killing. He was invincible in the universe and had killed countless people. His title was the Taichu Celestial Lord, but more people called him the Zhenyu Demon King, the Taichu Killing God, and the Starry Butcher. He had countless titles that shook the universe. There were many praises and criticisms for him, but he was never a good person. Yes, the Tang family is also a big family. The brothers and sisters fight for power and profit. There's no humanity in them at all. Tang Linglong said emotionally. When I first met you, Sifu, I also thought you were very cold and indifferent to people. But now I understand that you're actually the most sentimental person. You love your wife, help your family and friends, and never give up no matter how much you've been wronged. How is that so? Zhang Tian did not comment. He walked to the door of the room. It's my honor to be your disciple. Tang Linglong hugged Zhang Tian's shoulder and kissed Zhang Tian on the mouth. Then she ran into her room. I was kissed by a little girl. Zhang Tian knew that she was innocent and only had feelings for him as her disciple. He did not care. He turned to look at the dazed Qiu. Why aren't you sleeping? What are you looking at? Oh, I'll go now. I'll go now. The old man came to his senses and said cheekily, Master Kong, I didn't see anything. I won't tell Madame Jiang. The next day Zhang Tian, Tang Linglong, and Qiu Gong drove to the venue of the large-scale elixir exchange meeting, Mount Garuda. The steep green hills stretched endlessly, surrounded by clouds and fog. Mount Garuda was like a sharp arrow piercing the sky among the mountains of the Xianxia mountain range. There was a platform at the top of the mountain surrounded by fences. This was the venue of the elixir exchange meeting. On the long and narrow mountain road, there was a guard every 5 steps and a sentry every 10 steps. It was heavily guarded. The scenery is not bad. Zhang Tian had his hands behind his back as he walked up the stairs in a lazy manner, and he seemed like a tourist that was sightseeing. Xianxia was not like the 100,000 mountains. Although there were unknown areas, there was still a certain degree of development. They drove along the winding mountain road early in the morning. It was very easy for them to walk only about 10 miles on the mountain road. Qiu Gong, who had white hair and a beard, and Tang Linglong, who had an ethereal temperament, accompanied him. Zhang Lin came earlier than me. When they reached the platform at the top of the mountain, Zhang Tian saw a scene that surprised him. Brother, I beg you to let me pass. I bought a ticket before this. Zhang Lin was standing at the entrance holding a ticket and begging the few guards. The ticket is useless. It's from last night. It's already expired. This elixir exchange meeting is different from yesterday. You need to show your invitation letter. Please go back. The big man in the lead waved his hand impatiently. But I missed the meeting last night. I can't just come here for nothing. Zhang Lin was sweating profusely. She was not sure if it was because of her anxiety or the heat. I am from the Jiang family of Jinling City. My father is Jiang Yangming and my grandfather is Jiang Chongqing. The Jiang family of Jinling City? The leader frowned and looked at the guard next to him. The guard whispered, "She should be from the Jiang family of the Medicine King group." "Get out." The leader smiled disdainfully. "This is a gathering of the martial arts world. The Jiang family is just a secular family. You are not qualified to enter." Jiang Lin was in despair. She did not expect that the Jiang family, which was one of the top families in Jinling City, was not even qualified to attend this gathering. Suddenly she saw a person on the platform. As if she had seen her savior, she waved her arm and shouted with a smile, "Young Master Qin. Please take me in." Qin Bo heard her and walked over lazily. He smiled smugly and said, "You want me to take you in? Sure. Now kneel down." After being humiliated by Jiang Tian last night, he was filled with hatred. With nowhere to vent his anger, he started to hate Jiang Lin as well. Jiang Lin's face stiffened and her smile disappeared. She said in a trembling voice, "Qin Bo, do you have to be so aggressive? Humph, I want to buy you a drink but you don't give me face. Why should I give you face?" Qin Bo put his hands behind his back and looked at Jiang Lin arrogantly. He was waiting for her to kneel down. "Qin Bo, you are just a lackey. How dare you make things difficult for the Jiang family? Do you want to die?" Suddenly, a low voice filled with mockery was heard. "Jiang Tian, why are you here?" Jiang Lin turned around and saw Jiang Tian walking toward her. "Why can't I come?" Jiang Tian had already approached Qin Bo with large strides, pressing forward courageously. She was shocked when she remembered Jiang Tian's simple and rude personality. She quickly pulled Jiang Tian and said, "Jiang Tian, don't be rash. He is from Shinong School. We can't afford to offend him." "Then what do you want? Do you really want to kneel down?" Jiang Tian stopped and looked at Jiang Lin. Jiang Lin was stunned when she heard this, and then her delicate figure started trembling slightly. Her beautiful eyes were on the verge of tears, and her pretty face was ghastly pale as she said with a trembling voice, "If he can really take me in, then why not kneel for the sake of the Jiang clan's future?" Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. He did not know whether to admire her or to despise her. He said lightly, "Jiang Lin, you are a smart person. Can't you see that the Jiang family and the three major families of Jin City are like fire and water?" With his hands behind his back, he stood there lazily and said indifferently, "In a life and death battle, not only does it require one to be meticulous like dust and feign civility, it also requires courage as great as the heavens and an aura that can swallow mountains and rivers. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous will prevail." What you said is almost exactly the same as what Grandpa said at the family meeting. Jiang Lin looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. This cousin of hers had always been a good-for-nothing. She did not expect him to say something so profound. Jiang Tian did not look at her anymore. Instead he walked toward Qin Bo and said coldly, "Jiang Lin, you are good at dealing with people, but you lack the courage to fight to the death. Today I'll let you see how I'll beat this brat like a dog." Chapter 98. In his previous life in the business war with the Qin clan, the Jiang clan was filled with the doctrine of defeatism. They retreated time and time again, not daring to lose 800 of their own men but 1,000 of the enemy. That was why they were at a disadvantage and were defeated by the Qin clan in one strike. Jiang Tian wanted to tell Jiang Lin that only by not retreating and pressing forward with indomitable will one be able to defeat the enemy and obtain victory. "Jiang Tian, this is a martial arts gathering. You are not qualified to join. Get out." Seeing Jiang Tian coming, Qin Bo said disdainfully, "What do you want? Do you want to force your way in? Humph, you idiot. Think about it carefully. This is the place of Shinong School. I can kill you with one word." "Humph, Shinong School? Bullshit. I'm here because I'm giving you face." Jiang Tian said with a smile, "You want me to die? You're so arrogant. Even your sect leader doesn't dare to talk to me like this. You're just an ant. You can only talk to me if you lie down or kneel down. Since you don't know, I'll let you know your place." Jiang Tian walked over with a disdainful smile. Suddenly he raised his hand and slapped Qin Bo in the face. Whoosh! Qin Bo flew out like a kite with a broken string. Blood spurted out of his mouth and his teeth flew. He fell down like a dead dog. His face was purple and swollen like a steamed bun. Qin Bo held his head and shook it for a long time before he realized that he had been hit. He couldn't help but fly into a rage. He stood up, pointed at Zhang Tian and shouted angrily, "Zhang Tian, you idiot, how dare you hit me? I'm an outer core disciple of Shinong's school." He couldn't believe that Zhang Tian dared to hit him. The Jiang family had been declining day by day. In the Jiang family, Zhang Tian was just a good-for-nothing who could only cause trouble. But he was the ace young master of the Qin family and a disciple of Shinong's school. In the eyes of ordinary people he was as high as a god. But Zhang Tian dared to hit him and there were so many guards and policemen around. It was simply unreasonable. "It's a servant disciple." Zhang Tian's expression was indifferent, as if hitting him was like swatting a fly. He corrected Zhang Tian with a murderous tone. Zhang Tian shut up. Quickly apologized to young Master Qin. Zhang Lin's heart was filled with sorrow when she saw this, and she was anxious to the point she almost cried. He thought to himself that Zhang Tian had really gotten him into trouble. He had beaten up Qin Bo, so he definitely had no hope of entering the arena. He might even be tortured to death by Qin Bo. Is a mere ant worthy of me apologizing to him? Zhang Tian's face was calm as he said slowly, "Killing him is like killing a chicken." "Zhang Tian, don't be so arrogant. You're courting death. Left and right beat this brat to death." Qin Bo was so angry that his entire body trembled. His gaze was so cold that it could kill. He waved his hand and shouted. In Shinong school his status was not as high as that of Ms. Mange and Zhang Yanghao, but he still had some influence in the outer core. He was in charge of the peripheral security of this gathering. Yes. Hearing this, 7 or 8 burly men with strong qi immediately approached Zhang Tian. They rubbed their fists and were ready to fight. "Zhang Tian, hurry up and run with me. I heard that they are martial artists and kill people like cutting grass." Zhang Lin was scared out of her wits. Her face was pale and her body trembled. He pulled Zhang Tian and begged him. "Qin Bo, do you want to die? How dare you be so rude to alchemist Zhang?" At this moment Shin Mange quickly walked over with a shout. Her face was as cold as frost and her murderous aura soared. "Eldest senior sister, he barged into the gathering today and even hit me. I have to stop him." Qin Bo wanted to cry but had no tears. He walked up and explained anxiously, "You must have been fooled by him. He is such a good-for-nothing. He doesn't even know the basic properties of herbs. He can't even write the simplest prescription. How could he know how to make pills? What do you know?" Madame Mangu raised her hand and slapped Qin Bo's face, causing blood to spurt out from his nose. She rebuked angrily, "How can I not know great alchemist Zhang's alchemy level? What trick did this brat use to deceive senior sister into worshipping him like a god?" Qin Bo covered his face and glared at Zhang Tian with hatred. He gritted his teeth and roared angrily in his heart. "How dare you stare at me?" Ms. Mange's face was cold. She pointed at Qin Bo and scolded, "Do you want to die? If you dare to be disrespectful to alchemist Zhang again, you will be expelled from the sect. I will kill you." "Yes, senior sister. I won't do it again." Qin Bo was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly bowed and said, "This eldest senior sister looked gentle and virtuous, but in fact she was extremely vicious and merciless. Countless disciples who did not follow the sect rules were cruelly executed by her." "Kneel." Ms. Mange shouted. Qin Bo was so scared that he immediately knelt on the ground and trembled like a sieve. When facing Zhang Tian, Ms. Mange put on a smile and bowed respectfully. "Alchemist Zhang, I discussed with Elder Zhang yesterday. Only if you attend the elixir exchange will it be worthy of the name. I wanted to send an invitation, but I didn't expect you to come personally. Ms. Mange didn't welcome you at the door. Please forgive me." "Senior sister Mange, why is she so respectful to Zhang Tian, this good-for-nothing? Also, he knows nothing about medicine. How did he become Master Kong?" Seeing this, Zhang Lin was shocked. She was stunned and petrified on the spot. He could not believe it. "Yes. Looks like we have the same idea." Zhang Tian only glanced at Shin Mange. His expression was very calm as he stepped onto the platform. Zhang Lin hesitated for a while and quickly followed Zhang Tian. The people around them backed off. No one dared to stop them. At this time on the platform there was a huge round table in the center. There was a circle of stone chairs. More than 20 martial artists had gathered there. Unlike last night, There was not a single person from the secular world. They were all martial artists from various big families and factions. Why are there so few people at this gathering? Qiu Gong whispered in Jiang Tian's ear with a strange expression. Who cares? Jiang Tian snorted and looked at Qiu Gong with disdain. Alchemist Jiang is here so soon. Seeing Jiang Tian's arrival, Hong Tianzhao stood up with a face full of joy. He cupped his fists and greeted Jiang Tian. Tang Qinbian, Niu Bowen, and the other martial artists also stood up and greeted Jiang Tian warmly. I came uninvited. Sorry to keep everyone waiting. Jiang Tian casually sat down on a stone chair, crossed his legs and said with a carefree smile, Just now, Lady Mangu said that she wanted to send me an invitation. Could it be that you've prepared some spiritual herbs? Are these all martial artists? They are so strict and powerful. Even Grandpa can't be compared to them. Jiang Lin instantly shuddered with fear, and she stood obediently behind Jiang Tian like a little bird that was looking for the protection of a pair of wings. Ah, of course. Madame Mange sat down next to Jiang Tian and handed him a cup of tea. She smiled and said, Last night we thought about it and couldn't give up the elixir that you made. So we brought some spiritual herbs from our school. We hope that they can catch Master Kang's eye. Master Kang, please take a look. An elder of Shinnong School carefully opened a big brocade box on the stone table. Seeing a furnace with incense and candles in the middle of the stone table, Jiang Tian's heart was slightly moved. But his face was still calm. He glanced at the brocade box and his heart suddenly jumped. So strange. Black nightshade, snow tea, purple duckweed, summer ice holly. These herbs were not strange. They were only about 10 years old. But they were all full of strong green wood qi, which turned these ordinary herbs into spiritual herbs of the highest quality. Green wood, also known as green spiritual wood, took 50 years to germinate, 100 years to grow, and 1,000 years to become a material. After 1,000 years, green spiritual wood contained surging and pure green wood qi. It was rare even in the outer space. It was the wood element material needed to set up a spirit gathering array. These herbs are very good. I'm willing to exchange 20 spiritual herbs for them. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. Great alchemy master Zhang's eyes are like torches. These herbs have been treasured by our sect for many years. Madame Mange sighed softly, then smiled and said, Mr. Jiang, let's start the exchange. She immediately reported the names and quantities of the spiritual herbs. Jiang Tian took the package from Duke Qiu, took out a few porcelain bottles, poured them out and handed them to the other party. All right. Everyone is busy, so I'll take my leave first. Jiang Tian picked up the brocade box and stood up. Great alchemy master Jiang, why are you in such a hurry? Let's chat for a while. You can stay at my house for a few days before leaving. Hong Tianzhao was anxious. He stood up and invited him warmly. Thank you for your kind intentions, Patriarch Hong. Jiang Tian politely rejected. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. There will be a time when we meet again. But I have worldly affairs to attend to, so I have to leave. Great alchemy master Jiang, this is the highest quality cloud mist tea from our Shinnong School's Cloud Mist Peak. In ancient times, it was offered as a tribute to the royal family. Why don't you and Duke Qiu try it before leaving? Madame Mange's face was full of joy. She looked around with her beautiful eyes and spoke in a sweet voice. She held the cup with both hands and handed it to Jiang Tian. Seeing that Hong Tianzhao and Mange were so respectful to Jiang Tian, Jiang Lin was even more surprised. He couldn't believe it. Jiang Tian didn't refuse. He took the tea and drank it in one gulp. Tang Linglong also took a sip. Duke Qiu hesitated for a moment, then picked up the teacup and touched his lips. Jiang Tian placed the teacup on the round table and turned to leave with a smile. All right, you don't have to send me off. Jiang Tian, you still want to leave? Leave all the spiritual herbs and recipes behind and I'll spare your life. At this moment, Madame Mange's expression changed. There was no longer any smile on her face. Her beautiful eyes were filled with coldness as she shouted coldly. Jiang Tian, what are they trying to do? Jiang Lin was stunned. She didn't expect Shin Mange, who was so friendly just a moment ago, to suddenly change her attitude. Are they trying to rob us? Suddenly she understood something. Her face turned pale and her body trembled. She pulled on Jiang Tian's sleeve as if she could find some support. These martial artists were rumored to be superhuman existences. He and Jiang Tian were just ordinary people. Wouldn't they be crushed like ants by the other party? Do you think they can rob us? Jiang Tian stood there with his hands behind his back. He looked at Madame Mange and sneered. Setting up ambushes, assassinating, poisoning, killing and robbing. Jiang Tian was a grandmaster. These people were playing tricks on him. It was like showing off in front of Master Guan. Chapter 99. Jiang Tian, why are you still so stubborn? Don't you know that you shouldn't show off your wealth? If you have these precious medicinal pills, you shouldn't have taken them out to show people. Jiang Lin was so angry that her body trembled. She glared at Jiang Tian and then took a deep breath. She stepped in front of Jiang Tian and said righteously, "Humph. We are the descendants of the Jiang family of Jinlin City. My father is Jiang Yangming and my grandfather is Jiang Chongqing. If you want to hurt us, you better think twice." Although her aura was not small, her slightly trembling hands still exposed the fear and nervousness in her heart at this moment. Seeing this, Jiang Tian couldn't help but laugh. He also felt touched. His cousin had always had a sharp tongue but a soft heart and a strong sense of responsibility. He had never thought that she would have the courage to stand in front of him in the face of such a deadly situation. The Jiang family of Jinlin City is just a third-rate family. I can wipe them out with a wave of my hand. Tang Qianbian stood up and said with disdain, "We have already done our research. This Jiang Tian is just a piece of trash who offended a wealthy family in Yanjin. If I kill him, the Jiang family won't dare to pursue the matter." He sneered and threatened, "Jiang Tian, put down all the pills and tell me the recipe. Otherwise I will kill you like a dog." "You are far from being able to do that." Jiang Tian didn't panic at all. He looked at Hong Tianzhao with a cold smile and said, "Lord Hong, are you going to help me or are you going to work with them?" Hong Tianzhao stood up and looked down at Jiang Tian. His eyes were cold as he said, "Mr. Jiang, what do you think? You bastard. You were still friends with Master Kong yesterday and today you set up an ambush to kill him and steal his treasures." Qiu Gong scolded with a righteous face. Tang Linglong also yelled, "You're going back on your words, two-faced and unethical. How dare you call yourself a martial Dao master? What a disgrace." "Grandmaster, how much is it worth?" Hong Tianzhao looked up to the sky and laughed. His violent aura swept across the entire area. He looked at Jiang Tian coldly and sneered. "A man's wealth is his own ruin. Yesterday I opened the door to welcome him into the Hong family, but he didn't give me any face and flatly rejected me. That means he's doomed to a tragic end." Qiu Gong's face was filled with sorrow. This was the truth of the martial arts world. The strong were respected and the weak were punished. Everything was decided by strength. With a loud rumble, Niu Bowen also stood up and said with a hideous grin, "Patriarch Hong, why are you wasting your breath on him? Everyone, let's work together and kill him. We'll sit on the ground and split the gold." "How joyful." He greedily looked at Qiu Gong's backpack and grinned. "I only want 2 body tempering pills. Essence Qi pills. I fire spirit pills." Everyone present only needed a few words to finish dividing the loot. "Jiang Tian, what should we do? Why don't you give them the pill formula?" Jiang Lin was terrified to the point of shivering, and she curled up like a little kitten behind Jiang Tian while sobbing silently, and her heart was filled with despair. Many martial artists stood up and surrounded him as they slowly closed in. In her opinion, she and Jiang Tian were going to die here today. Jiang Tian was still as calm as ever. He turned around and patted her head with a smile. "Cousin, did you see it clearly? This was the truth of this world, a life and death struggle, a life and death struggle. Remember, if he wants to fight, then fight. Don't back down." After that he turned around and looked at Hong Tianzhao and Mange. He laughed and said, "Very good. Very good." His eyes drooped slightly and the corners of his mouth curled up in an excited arc as he muttered to himself, "All those years ago I attained the Tao through slaughter in the Outerium, and I swept through the starry sky for a myriad of light years, causing me to be filled with delight. After I was reborn I was restrained and restrained everywhere. It has been a long time since I've killed to my heart's content." His eyes were cold and murderous. "But today you are here for me to kill. I am so happy. Thank you. Haha, what are you mumbling about? You can go to hell now. Tang Qinbian snorted and waved his hands. Dozens of flying knives flew toward Jiang Tian. As soon as the flying dagger flew out, it was as if it was a boundless sea. The dagger light flickered, cold and incomparably sharp. It poured down like a great river, as if anything that came in contact with the dagger light would be riddled with holes. The Tang sect's 36 forms. Limitless flying dagger. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. They're really using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. It's Jiang Tian's honor to die under such an ultimate skill. Someone thought disdainfully. The limitless flying knives were created by the founder of the Tang sect. It was the most powerful hidden weapon. Not to mention that Jiang Tian was just a useless idiot from the Jiang family. Even if he was an expert at the pinnacle of internal force, his blood would splatter and he would die on the spot. Qinbian is quite talented. Although he didn't use the full power of the limitless flying knives, it is still very powerful. In the field, Hong Tianzhao's eyes narrowed as he sighed in his heart. There was a hint of approval on his face. Ah, they are fighting. It turned out that elder sister Mangu was scheming. I was wrong about him. Jiang Tian is going to kick the bucket this time. Inside the perimeter, Qin Bo was gloating and elated. When he saw Tang Qinbian attack, his face was filled with fanatical worship and endless envy. He muttered, "Oh my god, Tang Qinbian is so powerful. Killing Jiang Tian is like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut." How can such a good-for-nothing deserve to be killed by Master Tang? Haha, playing with knives in front of me? Do you think you deserve it? Facing this, Jiang Tian stood proudly and smiled disdainfully. In an instant he waved his jade-white hand. The 18 forms of the immortal martial, dragon-binding hand. A palm of qi broke through the air with a faint aura. It was the size of a millstone, just like the 5-finger mountain of the Venerable Buddha. It pushed out horizontally and grabbed down. Crack, crack. The 36 flying daggers made of fine steel were bent or broken and fell to the ground. What? Tang Qinbian couldn't believe it and his eyes narrowed. With a tap of his feet, he soared into the air like an eagle and leaped backwards. The Tang sect's hidden weapons were so powerful that they could even penetrate a person's body with a poker card. However, the limitless saber that he had used just now was made by the Lu family fort, a blacksmith family. It was made with special metals and was made with an ancient method. It could cut through iron like mud and was indestructible. However, it had been crushed like a piece of paper. Today I am at the second level of the qi refining stage. I can bind Songlong with one hand. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he smiled in disdain. His jade-white hands waved forward as if he was playing a zither. "Ah, I told you that you don't deserve to play with knives in front of me. Let me show you what a real knife is." Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Jiang Tian's fingertips sent out countless qi blades towards Tang Qinbian. Tang Qinbian was indeed worthy of being the eldest young master of the Tang sect. In a moment of desperation he stomped on the air and used the flying technique of the swallow's 3 swallows. His body rose up again and his speed was as fast as lightning as he shot into the sky. Whoosh. However, Jiang Tian's qi blades were even faster. Even though he used the Tang sect's qing gong, he still couldn't dodge them. A sharp sound resounded as his body was penetrated, causing blood to gush out. His entire body fell to the ground like a dead dog, causing numerous strands of dazzling scarlet red to splash out. After a violent twitching, Tang Qinbian stopped moving. He couldn't be more dead. How did he kill young Master Tang? Niu Bowen, Qin Bo and the others couldn't believe it. Their faces changed as they looked at each other in dismay. Jiang Tian's qi was faint and his speed was fast. They couldn't see how Jiang Tian killed Tang Qinbian. "Jiang Tianyu, when did you become so powerful?" Jiang Lin's eyes were wide open. Her mouth was wide open. He couldn't believe it. She didn't have any cultivation. All she saw was that Jiang Tian waved his hand and Tang Qinbian's throwing knives broke. Then he waved his hands and Tang Qinbian died. However, Tang Qinbian's limitless blade made her dizzy. She jumped 20 meters high with a single jump. She was dizzy and her heart was in a daze. However, Jiang Tian could kill him. Didn't that mean that Jiang Tian was even more powerful? Wow, so Master is so powerful. So domineering. Tang Linglong's eyes were filled with excitement and reverence. This was the first time she saw Zhang Tian's strength in martial arts since she met him. Qi condensation. He is a transcendent master. In the crowd, Hong Tianzhao knew what was going on. His face paled as he exclaimed, "I heard that there was a transcendent master in Linzhou City. Could it be him?" Mange glanced at Qiu Gong and Tang Linglong. Suddenly she realized what was going on. Her face paled as she mumbled, "No wonder he dared to show off his wealth. We have underestimated him." "That's right." Qiu Gong stepped forward and let out a proud smile. "This is the transcendent master of Jiangbei Kong Teichu." Tang Linglong stood with her arms akimbo. Her face was filled with disdain. "Get out of here if you know what's good for you." "What? He is the Master Kong of Jiangbei?" Niu Bowen and many other overlords were taken aback by the revelation. They all took a step back. None of them could believe what they had just heard. The Jiang family was just a secular family and was considered a third-class family in China. Jiang Tian was a good-for-nothing from this third-class family. He was a good-for-nothing, but now he had become a transcendent master. They had worked hard for decades to reach the iron body state. Even the strongest among them had only achieved initial success in internal force cultivation. However, Jiang Tian had reached the transcendent state. It was unbelievable. Realizing Jiang Tian's power, everyone regretted their decision. If they had known that he was so powerful, they would have stayed away from him. "Humph. I am afraid he is just an initial success transcendent state cultivator. He has already smelled the rosemary and drank the heartbreak grass hook tea. Even if he is a transcendent master, he is going to die here." Behind Ms. Mange, a skinny old man in a Taoist robe rose to his feet and said with a disdainful smirk, "Bu Xuanzi, the inner sect elder of the Shenong school." Qiu Gong furrowed his brows and was taken aback. Although the old man was skinny and frail, his eyes shone brightly. He carried a bamboo basket on his back and held a hoe in his hand. He was Bu Xuanzi, the grand elder of the inner sect of the Shenong school. He was a phenomenal success transcendent master. Other than Zhou Zimu and a handful of other powerful overlords, he was invincible. Not to mention that he was a master of poison. He could kill anyone with a single drop of poison. Even a transcendent master would have to stay away from him. "The heartbreak grass hook tea we drank just now is rosemary on the tea table?" Qiu Gong was shocked and in disbelief. "Yes. This is something that took 10 years to refine. It can even deal with deity realm experts." "It's such a waste to use it on trash like you." Divinator had a pained expression on his face. "2 types of poison. You are despicable." Qiu Gong's face paled. Chapter 100. Rosemary was originally invented by Liu Bowen of the Ming dynasty. It had helped Zhu Yuanzhang kill tens of thousands of Qin Youyang's elite soldiers. It was known as the smell of incense. It was especially effective against martial artists. Once a martial artist smelled it, their body would go limp and they would not be able to use their qi. They would be at the mercy of others. The heartbroken grass hook tea was created by Fu Shi, the ancestor of Shenong school. He had tasted hundreds of herbs and found that Chinese medicine could cure diseases and strengthen the body. In the end, he accidentally ate the heartbroken grass hook tea and died. This kind of tea could even kill the ancient sages. It could be said that there was no antidote for it. Thinking of this, he activated his qi but found that the blood flow in his body was not smooth and his breathing was stagnant. He was so anxious that he broke out in cold sweat. "It's over. It's over. The poison should have taken effect by now." Bu Xuanzi looked at Jiang Tian with disdain as if he was looking at an idiot. "There are so many of us. Even a 3-year-old child can knock them down with one finger." At this time Tang Linglong felt her body go limp and she sat on the ground. Qiu Gong also fell to the ground. "Ah, that's true. Shenong school is really good at using poison." Niu Bowen, Qin Bo and the others immediately clapped and cheered. "Ah, you call this poison? It's just candy to me." Jiang Tian's expression did not change. He flicked his right hand and 3 antidotes flew into the mouths of Qiu Gong and the others. He had been in the universe for thousands of years and had seen all kinds of dangers. For thousands of years he had entered the Dead Zone, the Demon Mountain and the Sea of Poison. Those places were filled with miasma and poisonous creatures. They were the most poisonous places in the world. Compared to the poisonous creatures in those dangerous places, Buswanzi's poison was insignificant. You shameless brat. How dare you disregard Shenong School's poison? I'll take your life first. Niu Bowen raised his head to the sky and let out a strange cry. He had already taken the lead and charged towards Jiang Tian. He wanted to fight for merits and benefits, so if he killed Jiang Tian first he would definitely be able to get 1 or 2 more top-grade pills. Originally he was a little afraid of Jiang Tian because of Tang Qianbian. But now that Jiang Tian was poisoned, the poison was only a matter of seconds. What was there to be afraid of? He immediately unleashed the hanging fist. Cloak open break. Hexagram, the 8 trigrams created by Fuxi. His fists were like golden axes chopping down with irresistible force. His punches and kicks were like flames rushing up and golden springs gushing out from the ground. His Chai Guaquan had already reached perfection. If a Chai Guaquan master were to see him, he would definitely worship him like a god and sigh at his inferiority. After a series of dazzling transformations, it finally evolved into a straight punch. Like a cannonball, the wind whistled strangely and the fist energy exploded. It had the momentum of a furious dragon emerging from the sea. With this punch I will definitely kill him on the spot. Niu Bowen's strange eyes were wide open. His face was ferocious and full of confidence. This Niu Bowen took the initiative. Elder Bo of the inner sect said that even a 3-year-old child could beat him. Why don't I go? Qin Bo was eager to try but regretted it. Many other martial artists also had the same feeling. Hong Tianzhao and Bu Xuanzi had already sat down and began to drink tea and eat melon seeds. They were too lazy to watch anymore. However, to everyone's surprise, dong. When Niu Bowen's fist smashed down, a golden light appeared around Jiang Tian's body. When the fist hit the light, it was like hitting a golden bell, creating a loud sound. How is this possible? Niu Bowen was shaken and staggered back. His face was full of astonishment as he looked at Jiang Tian. How dare a trash like you use a fist technique in front of me? Jiang Tian chuckled and had already punched back. This punch was ordinary, simple and unadorned. It was casually thrown out like a child playing around. But in fact, it was the mountain-splitting fist of the 18 immortal martial styles. Jiang Tian was now at the peak of the 2nd level of qi refining. With a punch he could smash a huge rock into pieces. Old Niu, get out of the way. Bu Xuanzi, Hong Tianzhao and Ms. Mange exclaimed together. Niu Bowen only felt a hurricane coming. This punch seemed to be heavier than a mountain, so heavy that it could smash mountains and rivers. Suddenly his heart was full of warning signs. Iron body cross-training. Niu Bowen let out a strange howl and used his qi to resist. The blood vessels in his body soared and his muscles bulged. Qiguan fist is both offensive and defensive. I didn't expect old Niu to have mastered the iron body cross-training and be able to block a blow from a transcendent master. Elder Bu Xuanzi sighed slightly and admired. Although Jiang Tian is strong, he has been poisoned and his strength is not enough. He shouldn't be able to hurt him. Hong Tianzhao also gradually calmed down and was very relieved. Boom. An invisible qi fist blasted on his body. Niu Bowen only felt as if he had been hit in the chest by a speeding bullet. He screamed and his whole body had been sent flying, smashing the stone table and toppling it. Looking at his body, his sternum was caved in and his skin and flesh were lacerated. There was blood everywhere. So strong. Niu Bowen spat out a mouthful of blood with fragments of his internal organs and died. At this time his internal organs were smashed into powder by Jiang Tian's fist. How could he not die? Don't waste time, come at me together. I have to go back and cook soup for my wife. Jiang Tian had killed 2 people in a row. One was a Qiguan fist master who had reached the peak of the iron body cross-training. The other was the famous 3rd young lord of the Tang sect. However, he acted as if he had just swatted 2 flies. He was calm and at ease. The only thing on his mind was to go back to Linzhou and cook soup for his wife. How arrogant of you! Hong Tianzhao's face changed dramatically. He stood up and smashed the round table into pieces as he roared proudly. Could it be that both poisons are useless against him? This is not scientific. Bu Xuanzi's face became serious for the first time. 5 minutes had passed and the poison should have taken effect long ago. However, Jiang Tian still killed 2 people in a row. This made him uneasy. As he wishes, let's go together. Madame Mange's face changed several times. Then she smiled and said, whoever successfully kills Jiang Tian will have all the elixirs and will be treated as a guest of honor by the Shenong school. He can take 20 elixirs of the highest quality. Kill. There's no need to follow the rules of the Jianghu when dealing with such an arrogant and ignorant kid. Let's go together. Madame Mange's words were like adding oil to the fire. The entire Mount Garuda was in an uproar. Generous rewards would attract brave men. Jiang Tian's elixirs were already tempting enough. Now he could be treated as a guest of honor by the Shenong school. He could take as many elixirs as he wanted. How tempting was that? Not even 1 billion yuan could exchange for it. The many martial warriors who were originally a little afraid of Jiang Tian no longer hesitated at this moment. They all held their weapons and punched out together, fighting to be the first to attack Jiang Tian. Only Madame Mange, Bu Xuanzi and Hong Tianzhao didn't make a move. Instead they stood at the back. Dozens of martial artists attacked. 7 or 8 of them were at the internal force level. The rest were basically at the phenomenal success of the iron body. Among them were the elite disciples of the Shenong school and the guards of the Hong family. There were also powerful masters who came from all over the world to attend the party and were persuaded by Shen Mange to join in the action. For a moment the sound of footsteps was like rolling thunder. Shouts and screams filled the sky. Sabers and swords flashed. The murderous aura seemed to be able to reach the 9th heaven. Even an experienced transcendent grandmaster would have to think twice before going head-on against such a powerful force. You should have done this earlier. I really want to go home and cook soup for my wife. Jiang Tian wasn't afraid at all. He put his hands behind his back and walked toward the crowd. Swish. A golden-backed ghost head blade slashed down toward Jiang Tian's head, as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. The attacker was the son of the Golden Saber Wang family. His saber skills had reached the transcendent level and he was also an internal force master. He jumped up and used the momentum of the falling saber to flash a white light. It reflected his ferocious face as if he wanted to kill Jiang Tian to vent his anger. Jiang Tian only raised his hand and flicked his finger. With a clang, the ghost head saber flew out of his hand and into the sky. Jiang Tian followed up with a slap. Young Master Wang's head exploded like a watermelon. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. Before young Master Wang's body fell to the ground, Jiang Tian flicked his finger at a martial artist in black. Swish. A ray of light shot out as fast as lightning. A bloody hole appeared on the martial artist's forehead. His eyes were wide open as he fell to the ground. He couldn't believe that he died in such a tragic way. You can't even withstand a single strike. I'm so disappointed in you. Jiang Tian's face was calm. He killed people like he was killing ants. He walked toward the crowd as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Clang. A treasured sword slashed down. In a flash, Jiang Tian moved like a dragon or a tiger and dodged the sword. He stretched out his right hand like lightning and twisted that person's neck. He casually grabbed the treasured sword that was flickering with cold light in his hand. Let me teach you how to use a sword. Jiang Tian swung his hand. The long sword was like a silver bottle breaking water. The sword light was everywhere. Puff puff puff. Blood spurted out. 5 heads flew into the sky and the bodies fell to the ground. Use your ultimate skills or I won't be happy killing you. Jiang Tian didn't stop. He glanced at the crowd that was pale with fear. His eyes were cold and indifferent. Swish, 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 swish. More than 10 figures rushed up and surrounded Jiang Tian. Some of them used spears and sticks, some used swords and sabers. There were also strange weapons like meteor claws, chain hammers and flying guillotines. Swish. Jiang Tian's sword swept in all directions. The sharp sword chi was 7 or 8 meters long. It covered a large area. There were screams and shouts. 7 or 8 people were cut in half by Jiang Tian's sword. Suddenly, blood gushed out and internal organs flowed all over the ground. The pungent smell of blood was enough to make people tumble. Is he a demon? How can he be so powerful? More than 10 powerful martial artists can't stop him. How terrifying. Elder, are the strange poisons of Shenong school useless against him? The rest of the crowd was scared by Jiang Tian's power. They trembled and stumbled back. Their faces were pale as if they had seen a demon. "Come on, let's fight." Jiang Tian stepped in the sticky pool of blood and looked at the crowd in disappointment. But they were so scared that they were trembling. How could they dare to fight again? Thump, thump. The rest of the martial artists dropped their weapons and knelt on the ground. They kowtowed as if they were pounding garlic. "Grandmaster Jiang, we were just bewitched by Xin Mange and Hong Tianzhao. We were confused for a moment. We have no intention of challenging Grandmaster Jiang. Grandmaster Jiang, please spare our lives. We are willing to be your lackeys. Just say the word and we will go through fire and water for you." They shrank like quails and were about to cry. They kept worshipping and begging for mercy. "You are just ants. How can you be my dogs? You think too highly of yourselves." Jiang Tian sneered and said coldly, "Kneel and don't move. Whoever moves will die." In less than a minute, Jiang Tian killed more than 20 martial arts masters as easily as cutting melons and vegetables. He forced 7 or 8 powerful martial artists to kneel and surrender. Only Bu Xuanzi, Hong Tianzhao and Xin Mange were left on the platform. They stood there dumbfounded. The entire place was dead silent, not a single sound could be heard. Only Jiang Tian was leisurely. He faced Hong Tianzhao and the others whose faces were pale with a mocking smile. He said lazily, "I wonder if you regret setting up this trap now?" Chapter 101. The mountaintop of Mount Garuda was littered with corpses and blood. It was a gruesome scene. The pungent smell of blood filled the air. Tang Linglong and Jiang Lin hugged each other tightly. Their eyes were wide open and their faces were pale. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Jiang Lin originally thought that the other party had set up a vicious trap and ambush, and that her idiot cousin would definitely die. However, he did not expect that Jiang Tian would only use 1 minute to sweep through the entire battlefield and kill his opponent. "Is this really my useless cousin?" Looking at the corpses and blood all over the ground, Jiang Lin felt as if she had fallen into a dream. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. "I had never thought that master would be so powerful." Tang Linglong felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered the faint smile on Jiang Tian's face when she said that Jiang Tian was a good man. She finally understood the meaning behind Jiang Tian's smile. By then Jiang Tian's malice chi had reached the heavens. It was as if he was a demon god that could crush the gods and Buddhas. Jiang Lin couldn't help but tremble in fear. However, on second thought she realized that she was his disciple and no one would dare to bully her. She felt proud and smug again. "I finally got to see the true face of Master Kong." Even Qiu Gong was taken aback. He pointed a finger at Hong Tianzhao and scolded, "You bastards. Now that you know what Master Kong is capable of, kneel down and beg for mercy." At this moment he was truly elated. "So you are the young grandmaster of Jiangbei Kong Teichu." Hong Tianzhao smiled arrogantly and stepped forward with a cold sneer. "That's right, it is me." Jiang Tian didn't deny it. "You have reached the transcendent state at such a young age. That is commendable. You might even become a grandmaster in the future. Unfortunately, your opponent is me." Hong Tianzhao snorted disdainfully. He was full of confidence as if victory was already in his grasp. "I have reached the initial transcendent state 5 years ago, and now I have reached the phenomenal transcendent state. Killing you is as easy as chopping grass." As he spoke, he flicked his finger. With a cheek sound, a blade of genuine qi shot into the stone table and pierced through it. Jiang Lin tensed up. A transcendent master was as powerful as an immortal. If Jiang Tian were to fight him, it would be hard to say who would win. "Wait." Elder Bu Xuanzi stretched out his hand to stop them. He looked at Jiang Tian sincerely and said, "Mr. Jiang, this old man admires your talent in alchemy. If you join Shinong School and become a consecrator, we will treat you as a distinguished guest. Sect leaders will love talents as much as his own life. He will definitely teach you how to concoct pills and make medicine. If you are willing to join Shinong School, then you are my friend." "I will naturally shake hands and make peace with you. Otherwise it will be a fight to the death," Hong Tianzhao said with a nasty grin. Ms. Mange's face was devoid of any murderous intent. She smiled gently and said, A single piece of silk cannot make a thread, and a single tree cannot make a forest. Kong Teichu, if you join Shenong School, you will have a powerful backer. Moreover, you will be able to read our precious books and receive sect leaders with personal instruction. Among the three people, some were playing the good cop while the other was playing the bad cop. They were trying to coerce Jiang Tian into joining Shenong School. If Jiang Tian were to join them, they would have no choice but to hand over the elixir recipes and alchemy techniques. Oh my God! Becoming a consecrator and receiving sect leaders was personal instruction. Many martial artists were envious. What a great opportunity this is. If it were me, I would definitely say yes. Qinbo's eyes turned red with envy. That's right, this is such a good opportunity. A martial artist echoed. Zhuzimu, the head of the Shenong School, was known as the elixir master. His ability to refine elixirs and make medicine was more powerful than that of the Quanzhen School, which was also from the Danding School. If they could get his guidance, wouldn't it be a great fortune? However, Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and said, Zhuzimu wants to instruct me in alchemy? Does he deserve it? He's not even fit to be my apprentice when it comes to refining pills. You're so arrogant and ignorant. Bu Xuanzi shouted. His face was red with anger. Ms. Main shook her head slightly. It seemed that Jiang Tian's choice was very unwise. Forget it. Since this guy is so shameless, let's do it. Hong Tianzhao's eyes were so cold that they seemed to be able to kill people. His face became gloomy. He heaved a long sigh and said, well, today I will let him know the foundation of a Wu Dao Grand Master. You deserve to be called a Grand Master? Then the Grand Masters in Huaxia's martial arts world are like grass dogs and chickens. Jiang Tian scanned him with his divine sense and then said with a disdainful smile. As soon as he said that, there was a dead silence. Hong Tianzhao had been famous for more than 10 years. He was a real Wu Dao Grand Master and ranked 20th on the divine list. Compared to him, Li Jinwei, who had been famous for many years in Lingnan, was like trash. Do you know that Grand Masters are like dragons? You can't humiliate a Grand Master. Anyone who humiliates a Grand Master will be killed immediately. Hong Tianzhao's face darkened and was full of anger. Ah, Grand Masters are like dragons? Calling you a bug is a compliment. Arrogant fool. Jiang Tian laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. These people were too ignorant. They thought that they were invincible after reaching the transcendent state. They didn't have the terrifying strength of an immortal cultivator. In the extraterritorial space, any early-stage chi refinement cultivator could crush them like ants. Arrogant fool. A Grand Master is worse than a bug. All the martial artists present were shocked. You are indeed powerful, but you shouldn't be so arrogant. Humph. Kong Teichu, you arrogant and ignorant kid. You are courting death today. Don't blame me. I will kill you. Hong Tianzhao raised his eyebrows and stomped his feet on the ground. Suddenly he rose into the air like a big bird. Oh my God. Patriarch Hong actually flew up. That's awesome. Grand Masters are like dragons. They are like dragons in the sky. When will I be able to fly more than 10 meters? That's fine too. Stop dreaming. The martial artists present all exclaimed in surprise. Especially the few guards of the Hong clan, they were even more flattering and flattering. They even said shameless things like, Lord Hong is a divine dragon who has come down from the heavens. He will rule the world for thousands of years. Ling Long, Duke Qiu, protect Jiang Lin and retreat. Jiang Tian waved his hand. Yes. The three of them retreated 10 meters. Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and stepped into the air. It was as if there were transparent glass steps under his feet. He took another step and rose again. After 8 steps, Jiang Tian stood in the air. His clothes were fluttering in the wind. He looked like an immortal or a demon. So powerful. Shin Mange's face changed drastically. At least in terms of lightness skill, Jiang Tian was not inferior at all. Master is so cool. Tang Linglong's beautiful eyes rolled. Her delicate red lips trembled slightly. Her beautiful eyes were full of admiration. Is he still a human? Looking at Jiang Tian, who was standing in the air like a god, Jiang Lin could not connect him with her useless cousin. Hong Tianzhao took advantage of the falling momentum and swooped down. He pulled out a long golden sword and slashed at Jiang Tian. Streaks of golden sword aura condensed in the air. They were flickering as if they were real. The sword aura was endless and swept toward Jiang Tian. The sword aura was like a raging sea. Every sword aura was extremely sharp, as if it could tear the sky and split the earth. Raging sea sword art, flaming gold divine sword. Elder Bu Swansea exclaimed. His eyes were filled with shock and even envy. The raging sea sword art was passed down from the Tianshan sect. Hong Tianzhao's ancestors were from the Tianshan sect. He learned the sword art from there and passed it down. Even now, the Hong family and the Tianshan sect still had a close relationship. This set of sword art was continuous and had both offense and defense. It could be considered the Hong family's ultimate technique. The flaming gold divine sword was also a sharp weapon. It was ranked in the top 30 on the Wuxia martial arts divine weapon list. It was second only to the famous seven swords in the Tianshan sect. Not only could it cut through hair, but it was also carved with fire elemental Dao patterns. It had the effect of increasing the attack of the sword aura. It could condense a high-temperature sword aura. Even a grandmaster would have to retreat. Wherever the flaming gold divine sword passed, the air would be torn, the rocks would crumble, and the dust would fly. The sharp sword aura left deep marks on the hard rocks and intertwined with each other. This was just the edge of the sword aura. If it swept across a person's body, they would immediately be turned into meat paste. He used his trump card right from the start. Is there such a way to fight? Seeing this scene, even Qiu Gong became nervous. With such a sword art and such a treasure sword, even Jiang Tian would be in danger. No wonder he is a grandmaster on the divine list. He is too powerful. How can Kong Teichu be his match? Shin Mange's eyes were filled with admiration. She then looked at Jiang Tian with disdain, as if he was already a dead man. Come on, brat. I will tear you into pieces today. After countless sword auras, Hong Tianzhao's hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a mad tiger as he let out a loud roar. Bah! In response, Jiang Tian spat on his palms and rubbed his hands together. His actions were extremely vulgar, which was very different from his usual carefree attitude. Tear you into pieces? Bastard, you think you are so great? I will slap you to death. Jiang Tian smiled mockingly. Then, as if he was swatting a mosquito, he lightly slapped his palm. Immortal martial 18 forms. Heaven-covering hand. What a pity that Master Kong doesn't have a suitable weapon. Qiu Gong's heart skipped a beat. He quickly pulled the two girls back. Jiang Tian was a transcendent grandmaster, but Qiu Gong didn't know what level of transcendent state he was at. However, Jiang Tian had just risen to power, so he should be at the initial transcendent state. However, his opponent was a transcendent state grandmaster who had been famous for 10 years. More importantly, Jiang Tian was unarmed and his opponent had the advantage of a weapon. How could he not be afraid? However, as Jiang Tian struck out with his palm, a surging aura covered a large area like a cloud in the sky. It swept through the entire area like a hurricane, blowing all the cultivators off their feet and causing them to stagger back. Crack, crack. How is that possible? Hong Tianzhao, who was blown up and down by the strong wind, looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He was dumbfounded. Suddenly, his vision blurred and Jiang Tian appeared in front of him like a ghost. The two fingers in his eyes were getting bigger and bigger. Hong Tianzhao couldn't dodge in time. With a loud bang, Jiang Tian poked his eye socket. Ouch! Hong Tianzhao screamed and backed away. He almost fell from the sky. However, Jiang Tian wasn't done yet. Following that, he shamelessly kicked him in the crotch, ruthlessly kicking his crotch. Ouch! Hong Tianzhao fell to the ground like a dead dog. He held his crotch and twitched uncontrollably. Then he looked at his face. His eye sockets were bruised like a panda's and his face was covered in tears. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.